thing
We
is
should be on.
being temperamental.
You guys ready to go?
I don't know.
Let's call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, September 13th, 2016. We're going to stand to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born on board.
Okay. Minutes and reports received and filed.
I have the sheriff's August 2016 case file, and that's all.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
I'm behind. Planning Commission meeting tonight. HBA tomorrow night. Is Wingding tomorrow night too? Or do I have it on the wrong date? It is? Out at the fairgrounds? Okay. Stop. You don't want me there, John, just say so. Chamber Connections is Thursday night. I think that's at Ria's. NRA dinner Thursday night. Radio Friday. So hopefully nothing exciting happens between now and then. Sam, try to take care of that.
Okay.
And then we had the Fall Festival this weekend. I got this Miracle Rock. It takes care of all your medical problems. You just touch whatever region's bothering you. Took care of my hemorrhoids last night.
Looks like a piece of wood.
Sorry. I had to- you fell right into that one. You should know
Yeah.
better. You should not touch anything that I hand you. Ever. All right.
You got anything else?
No, I missed you guys.
Can't take you
You've
anywhere,
lost
son.
all context
I can't take you anywhere.
Nope, I'm done. That's all I got.
Only thing I really have is the So Long Summer Music Festival. It's Friday and Saturday.
I got Cap Region Executive Board meeting tomorrow morning, Home Savings Bank Board meeting tomorrow. Thursday, I'm meeting with Dr. Rome here at 8. An RA dinner. Friday, we can eat chicken everywhere. There's Habitat has a chicken dinner at Eagles. Knights of Columbus has a chicken dinner for the Boys and Girls Club. There's the NAACP dinner. And on Saturday, if you didn't get enough chicken, there's the Operation Bugle Boy Chicken Dinner at American Legion. So we can eat chicken for 2 days.
Where do you get all these invitations from? I haven't seen hardly any of them.
I gotta work 2 of them. Friday, I'm gonna work Habitat as a celebrity thing, and then I'm gonna go over and help the Knights of Columbus clean up. I think they got a little bit of alcohol to help get the germ out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's all I. Okay. You wanna go to any of those?
It's deer.
I got tickets.
They're all at the fairground. Okay. Thank you, gallery. No, it's deer season. I don't-
Okay.
Right now, I don't care.
Let's do bids and contracts then. Bid award 2016-31, propane provision and service.
And we got one bid for this from Aerogas, in the amount of .825 per gallon. We also asked for cost to purchase and set 2 1,000-gallon tanks, and that is $1,000 a piece, if that's something that you collectively think you want to look into. Or we could, as we talked about before too, get bids for that if you want to look outside of this bid.
We're gonna get any better price if we bid it outside of it?
For the tanks, I don't know.
Yeah.
You probably have a better idea than I what those cost.
I haven't bought propane forever. Chris, you got an idea?
Well, the problem is that we were with MFA 2 or 3 years ago, and
obviously people come in and cut the price, and then they get the tank set, and then then you get one bid, because it just doesn't work. You can't put gas in somebody else's tank. So so I mean, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to actually own our own tanks, and then we'd get multiple bids from various companies. But
Well, if that's gonna be a savings in the long run, then let's look into it. It may cost up front to get the tanks, but if we own them, and then we can save money on the propane itself.
I don't have a problem. The only thing, depending on the time it takes to get them here, you know.
I understand.
Some probably for fuel until,
what are we, just heating our shops on propane? Is that?
Our shop was originally set up on electricity, and it was costing us something fair, so it switched over prior to my time, but switched over to propane. It's propane there in both of the main shops there.
So if we don't sign the contract, they'll still deliver us gas, right?
We got some last week or a couple weeks ago, and they were still honoring last year's price, so.
What was last year's price, Jennifer? Do you know?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you either without looking back.
It's probably still under $1. Probably a whole lot cheaper than it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pay requested, I think, went through this last round.
How long is that bid good for?
As far as for you guys to consider it,
Yeah.
90 days.
Okay. You guys care if we call around and check prices
No,
on tanks?
we did that with my mother-in-law in West Australia. There's a heck of a disparity in what some people charge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
And we see if we can call up a couple people and other people and see what the cost to set tanks would be. Just buy tanks and set them, and then,
You want to just do a phone bid?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're under, surely they're under $1,000, because that's what these are here,
These are $1,000 a piece,
right?
Yeah.
so.
So I'm assuming they'll be that or less. If we find out it's gonna be more, we can just go with this.
I know when I priced it for myself, it was $1,000 just for a 250-gallon tank. That's why I'm thinking about renting, like, you know, just have someone to bring a tank in, so. I don't know, Jeff, I really don't.
All right, make some phone calls and we'll see and
Okay.
put it back on the agenda next week. We can,
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all right with that.
I'll text Cliff right now.
Okay. Bid award 2016-32 welding and metal fabrication.
We got 2 bids in response to this. The recommendation is to award the lowest bidder available shop time.
So Gardner,
The lowest with available shop time, so that if Gardner is the lowest. If Gardner's tied up, they can then go to Vogelai if it's warranted.
It's like we do with the other services that we have. If they've got a big project going on where it may be 2 weeks and it's something on a dump truck we need done right away, we can have it fixed. We always work with them. They're both good firms.
okay.
Have we done much with Gardner before? I mean, I've seen a lot of Vogelai invoices, but I haven't ever really seen a Gardner invoice.
Willard bid on it. He recently opened a shop. I personally use him
Okay.
for stuff out there. I mentioned to him the other day, put a bid in, so.
Okay. I'm good with the recommendation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's lowest and best.
Available shop time.
Okay. I move that we award the welding and metal fabrication to the lowest and best with available shop time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going back to the current propane, we're paying $92.90.
So it went down.
Yeah. Okay. Signing of contract for the Pringer Center bathrooms.
And this is the contract for GBH that you awarded last week. There's 2 originals, and Jill has looked over and approved it.
What's the time frame on that?
They're supposed to be done December 29th.
Of this year?
Was it
It was like
70
working
days? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Have we contacted them? I mean, that
Yeah.
was, okay.
They're starting the 19th, is that next Monday, I think, but they're getting on it pretty quickly here.
Yeah, we're gonna do kind of what we did with the HVAC. We're gonna meet over there and kind of explain to them that you've got people living in that building, so you can't just go tear up all the bathrooms and then go home.
Right, that was made clear in the pre-bid, and then
Yeah.
I think Michael's been in contact with them
Yeah.
to kind of coordinate everything up front, so.
I move that we sign the contract with GBH for the Pringer Center bathrooms.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any unfinished business? Any unfinished? Nope. New business, accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable. And review.
I move that we approve accounts payable pending review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Tony Stegman with Gilmore Bell. Order of the County Commission of Cole County, Missouri, accepting the proposal for underwriting, selecting an underwriter in connection with the proposed refunding of the certificates of participation, Series 2011, and acknowledging certain disclosures pursuant to MSRB Rule G17.
And Tony did send you guys a letter. She wasn't able to be here today, but between her and Joy, we did receive 7 proposals for the underwriting on this refunding of the 2011, and Joy was very happy. I think she also sent you guys a letter. It is having a lower yield, meaning a higher savings for us than she estimated to begin with. So first the 7 proposals, she needs you guys to approve the first, what's the name of it? First Bankers Bank out of St. Louis is the winner of the underwriting. So that's this plus the order that you mentioned for the refinancing. So it needs to be signed and approved.
Do you guys have any questions on this?
No.
No, I looked at,
Did you look at her email?
yeah.
Does she have a projection on what that was gonna save us? I mean,
No, not on the latest
Is-
proposal. no.
okay. She didn't know exactly what the rate would be till.
And we won't know until the day we actually
Okay.
close. And we do have a Moody's rating call on Friday.
16th.
And all of these proposals needed that Moody's rating in order to give the rate they're giving here, so.
So what are we approving here, Debbie?
You're approving the
The
underwriter.
order.
The order, and then the underwriter to the first financial,
The First Bankers Bank?
yes.
Okay.
So basically, that order that you
Mhm.
read off,
Mm-hmm.
that's what has to be approved. because Tony gave us that language.
God bless.
Kind of confusing here. I move that we approve the order accepting the proposal for underwriting for the refunding of the certificates of participation for the jail project and awarding to First Bankers Bank.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I hope that got it.
Sounded good to me. Tell you what, we might jump around, because I think the EMS, do we want to do the discussion of the EMS with consultants, or are we gonna move that?
We can get everything else done if you want.
Okay, let's do the approving transfers for elected officials back pay.
Is this just money coming out of approval for back pay?
Yes. But it was, since we did everything in session, I thought you guys would want to see all the transfers. And this not only transfers the back pay, but it also transfers what's left to pay out this year with the different salaries.
Okay.
So. And also sent you guys a letter yesterday that after looking into the back pay and what all forms have to be filled out with Social Security and how the withholding is going to happen on the back pay, I wanted to get a letter out to every elected official telling them when the back pay check to expect it and how the taxes are going to be handled and the paperwork that we'll have to turn in to Social Security and Medicare to make sure we get the money in the right year for everybody's future Social Security bills. And some people are actually currently drawing, so it will affect them. And the only thing I'm waiting on, the reason why I put the date to October 5th is what I'm looking at writing the checks for. I'm still waiting to hear back from loggers for the actual rate that we owe them. Because again, every year was a different rate that we were paying. So
Why are we signing a transfer now then?
we actually increased the wages for payroll this last check that you received.
But this has the back pay on it too, doesn't it?
Yes.
You're just trying to do it all at one time?
Yeah, and I understood we were doing it this year from the last meeting. And I know there was some debate on whether we were doing it this year or not. So that's why I wanted to bring it here too.
I got outvoted on it, so, I mean, I'm not gonna hold that part of it up. But I think we need to have some kind of settlement agreement with anybody that gets any kind of back pay on it that says that it settles and resolves any kind of back pay. And then it also says that it waives any and all other claims in the future on this. Because if we're gonna have this over and done with, it needs to be over and done with. So whatever we need to write up to make
Well,
it.
the issue then is if somebody refuses to sign, what are you gonna do?
Well, they don't get paid. They can sue us then.
And then we get hit for attorney's fees when we lose. Lowell and I had this discussion.
Let them sue us.
Well,
I'll take my chances in it.
We thought about, I'm going to actually issue checks. not
What
direct
my
deposit.
idea for that was then perhaps we should put a letter in there that says cashing this check constitutes an acceptance of all of this. In other words,
Well, there's
making
your
it an
settlement.
affirmative action rather than some sort of MOU.
I'm
Just-
fine with that as long as that covers our backside. It's
Just put it on
done
the back of the
with.
check.
No, I'm gonna put a letter with it. I don't
Okay.
think we can print it on the back of the check, but it says if you cash, basically.
Real small writing.
Yeah.
I think you can.
Fine print.
Yeah.
Basically, it's gonna say,
Okay.
if you cash this, you've waived any further claims and you agree that this is,
But we all just understand where
Full
I'm going with this. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think.
Vote's
that-
already
Yeah.
been done. I can't do
Yeah.
anything about that.
And then if they don't wanna cash it and sue us, that's the way they can go.
Yeah.
But they don't get the check and
But I mean, even 20 years from now, I don't want the sitting commission to have to go back and go, oh, well, we're getting sued again, because something didn't get ciphered right, and, so.
But that'd be barred by the statute of limitations.
Well, maybe. One person said that there may not be a statute of limitations on that, so I'm just making sure our backsides are covered on this. So, yep, if y'all had that idea already taken care of, then cool. I wasn't trying to hold it up because of that, I'm just saying that we need to have something covered.
So do we need to make a motion to approve these, or do we just need to sign these?
I think we just sign them like usual,
Yeah.
don't we? Just.
I just
she
want your
wanted to bring
blessing
it
to
up.
go ahead and give the letters out. And with the letter is the breakdown of what was paid and what should have been paid for those years.
Anybody can still not accept the check and turn around and sue us, so.
That's true.
I mean, whether we have a letter saying that they're waiving that right or not depends on how they want to look at it,
I'm good with it, Debbie.
so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we'll move forward.
Okay. Okay, so we've got discussion of EMS with consultants.
Well, I think, did they talk to you about going and doing the closed session part first?
I didn't get
Do
a
we-
chance to see
Okay,
Commissioner.
Do we want,
I told Sam,
okay, okay,
do the personnel closed session before the general
Okay.
discussion with the consultants.
okay.
Okay? Is that what we want to do?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So we'll reconvene in session then after the closed session. Okay, I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 for security issues sub 18 and personnel issues sub 3.
second,
Roll call, please.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
You want
do
the
we,
security first, or you want the?
well, I figure we get you knocked out of the way,
Yeah,
and then we'll
you're-
have the ambulance.
Yours
so
shouldn't be.
They always.
Thought you had all day.
We got this room at 5 o'clock for planning commission meeting.
Okay.
Wait, we might not even have one.
I think it was 11:03.
We've got till about 4.
Okay,
Made the motion.
Jeff did.
Second.
Sam.
I did.
Saying, because Jill's left out, not getting
Nice.
the promotion.
Jill's got that for you, maybe.
Okay, we should be up now.
Make a motion to go back into closed session, open session.
No, we just
Okay.
came out of.
Okay, just came back close, okay. We're good. Okay.
Okay,
Discussion of EMS with consultants.
Ed, do you want to?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ed Rose. I'm with Paramedics Plus and East Texas Medical Center, along with Rodney Dyke and John Smith. We are your consultants on EMS, and we're here to speak to you about programs we're seeking to create and/or to improve in Cole County EMS. You have made a change. The first thing I'd like to talk about is leadership. A change has been made in the leadership of Cole County EMS. We're asking the commission to approve for that director position, who has taken a position within the ranks, a new director and the job description for that director. We're also asking that a salary range for a director position be approved. Presently, the salary range that we've essentially evaluated in the area for a like position, the salary range is about 80 to 130 $1,000 per annum plus benefits. We're recommending, given the current salary structure here in Cole County, that you allow or look for a salary range of 80 to $100,000 for that new director position. So we're asking for your approval both on the job description for a director as well as the salary range. You do have an option. An option is to not have a salary range affixed to it, but at some point certain, you're going to have to make a decision that a salary range is needed in order to make the appropriate hire. So we recommend the 80 to 100 salary range. We recommend the approval of the job description for the director. I don't know if I have to stop there and ask and allow you to ask questions. There's one more component to the leadership that I'd like to talk about, and that is when we evaluate leadership, leadership is comprised of both the director and all the other people who serve in management and middle capacities like supervisors. Currently, supervision is provided by one floating supervisor on the days, 4 day a week. The other supervisors are done through communications, and they're done also during the days, generally 7 to 7. There is no night supervision other than for the purposes of if a call comes in or a problem occurs, one of these day supervisors are called at home, the intake supervisors, and then they respond to whatever the problem might be. We think the supervision that's being provided now needs to be changed, and we need to restructure it. And not because of anything the intake supervisors are doing, but the limitations that they have with regard to investigating accidents, investigating complaints, going out there and watching medical care occur at the street. They just are not able to get into the field, and that's where supervision's more appropriate. You've got 4 people in communications, and you've got 40 people in the field, and the supervision occurs in communications, and you need to be in the field. That's our expectation. We're asking that you approve an additional supervisor, an offline supervisor. In other words, that he or she would be a paramedic. They would not be working a truck, but they could fulfill a truck, or they could fill a truck in the case of urgent circumstance or a surge needed in coverage. And we would basically add 1 FTE day supervisor paired with the current supervisor, and they would then provide offline supervision 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and their full-time job would be supervision. That position would require or have a cost of about $57,000 per annum, plus benefits, of course, and it could be a little less, it could be a little more. It's a function of who applies for the job and how that, and basically what their rate of pay currently is. We're hoping that we get someone in the current ranks to apply for that job. We think that would be incredibly good for them and for the organization. To fill out the supervision role, the least expensive, and I mean it in the most efficient use of the current system, is to promote and or acknowledge the putting 2 senior paramedics on duty at night. In other words, a paramedic working an ambulance on a 12-hour shift overnight, that person would apply for the position of a paramedic supervisor, working the truck and having supervisory duties. We think that cost, we significantly, in other words, that person will be there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week on the night shift. There would be 2 night supervisors. They'd be paid a premium over addition to their salary. The premium would be about $2 per hour, or $576 per year. So they would basically get their regular pay plus a premium of $4,576, and they would act as supervisors. They would have obligations to provide contacts with the hospitals, provide contacts with the basic police agencies, all that. But the point is, it wouldn't be a fulsome cost of $57,000 for an offline supervisor. And we think it's a great opportunity for someone to grow in the EMS business, to become a supervisor, even though on a truck, because it gives them more responsibility, it gives them an opportunity to move up, and we think it's a great proving ground for people really wanting to get ahead in EMS, and it's coming from within your ranks, which is, by the way, a very good thing for organizations seeking to grow and keep its people interested. So the supervision and leadership piece is what I present to you. We have a couple of other issues, but I don't know at what point I close off and allow you to ask questions. It's up to you. Shall I keep going?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Let's try to, so didn't we kind of edit the job description and kind of get that worked out?
Yes, sir. We made the change to the job description that y'all requested that showed preferred as a bachelor's or equivalent.
Yeah.
Okay. And are we good? Are we good with the 80 to 100, or?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we had agreed on. We just didn't know if it was necessary, but if you feel like that is necessary, then I would add that to the description.
You okay with that,
Say
Jeff?
that again.
Yeah, yes.
You would have,
I would put that salary range $80,000 to $100,000. And they.
When
and
you
they-
advertise
When
it.
you advertise it.
So I move that we approve the job description and salary range.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll
Okay,
make notice on that today, and it'll probably be posted tomorrow or Thursday at the latest.
Okay.
so the night supervisors, are you guys good with taking a night supervisor and giving them an additional $2 an hour for a 12-hour shift, so we have full-time field supervision?
I think that's economical, but I think it's a smart move, yeah.
Can I ask
Yep.
a question?
I was gonna
Is
say,
that
on-
only if they pick up, is that only for that shift that they make that $2 extra? Or could they work a different shift and their whole rate changes, or, I just need to know that.
I think we could explore it. I think that, while I can't answer directly, our preference is that they work the $2 per hour for the shift's work as supervisor. There is no reason that you can't change the salary structure or hourly rate for an extra shift, so long as it's paid at overtime. As long as it occurs within the overtime thing, right?
So if they worked the shift as a supervisor, they'd get a $2 an hour
That's correct.
bump. If they worked it as a regular paramedic, not as a supervisor, they'd be at their normal rate.
I think that would be the best approach.
but if they're working at overtime, they're getting $3 an hour.
Well, right.
So I think there's a whole lot more to it than just that $2 an hour thing, so that's why I wanted to sit and look at the budget, see where we're at with all that too.
I just have to look within our software system to be able to tone that overtime and have a different rate depending on what job they work. So,
It's gonna be harder to budget blended overtime.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we really try to budget EMS to begin with. I mean, because it's a freaking nightmare. I mean, we can budget everything else but salaries, and then we ought to just throw a damn number at it.
Well, you're working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's.
Sheriff's Department does it.
Well, we hope we can convince you of the worth of it. It's a great,
Oh.
it's, EMS is an incredibly important program that we understand, and we hope to bring everybody else up to speed as well. So this, it is controllable, but there is just factors that you can't control, like when people get sick, or when people go on, long distance trips, or when they have training. These are extra costs that you don't envision. And then all of a sudden they come up and you make good, you pay your employees. So that is, so the other issue we had was, can we have, or may we have added a supervisor during the day, offline?
I think we need to restructure our supervisors. I don't think it's working the way it should be working, so.
Huh? Sam kept catching my sleeves.
You okay with adding a day supervisor, so we have supervision 7 days a week?
I thought we had supervisors there during the day. I know that they are in the intake area, which isn't preferable, and that's what we're looking at changing, but now you're gonna add a supervisor. Now we're adding a position, and that's totally different than restructuring.
We're changing the role of the supervisor also, so that they're actually can
We
respond.
think
Right.
supervision is best provided in the field and from the
Yeah.
field. And as a consequence, we think that intake supervision needs to be restructured. We don't think that's a
I
supervisory
agree with that
position for the
100%.
field. Pardon?
Well, I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that at all,
Right.
but we're looking at adding a position.
We're adding a position,
And
correct.
anytime we add position, we rake people across the coals, and we need to do it to ourselves if we're gonna do it to every time the prosecutor or the sheriff wants somebody, is where I'm going with it. So, to justify it, to make sure where the money's coming from, because that's gonna be, what, another 57,000?
Yes, sir?
We knew this restructuring was gonna cost money. And so, that's why they're here, and that's why we're looking at trying to make some changes. And I hear what you're saying, and
I think right now, the way we've got our, it's not very effective. So I think,
Well, do we need it? If we've had it this way the whole time and it's been somebody that really hasn't had a supervisory role or had a supervisor as supervisory title, basically, is all it's been. Do you need to have another person hired to fill that? What are they gonna do? What else are we getting for that 57,000? That's where I'm going with that.
well, they're gonna actually respond to some of the multi-car racks. They're gonna be, when
Well, I
things
think
pop up.
That's true, if I may add,
decisions.
a field supervisor is, we need to understand that that person is a paramedic. We need to understand that that paramedic is able to work in the field as well as inside doing administrative tasks. We need to understand that that paramedic is also available to jump on a truck in a surge capacity when the system is low in terms of service. And so if you've got a paramedic there and you've got an EMT doing administrative duties, you can put those two people on a truck and you not have a level 0. You can service the patient's needs. If an emergency call comes in, you've got a ready capacity. So it isn't just simply someone pushing a pencil. It's someone who is available to meet the demands of the EMS system, as well as provide the leadership and direction to the 40 people who are in the field. We can't underestimate the importance of supervision and leadership. And the thing that's interesting to me was, during our opportunities speaking with employees here, they all want 24-hour supervision. They don't feel that what's working, it's not working for them now. There are problems that come up all the time during the day and night, and they're not handled adequately or consistently, and that's something that we have to repair. Yeah, but the supervisory structure, the leadership structure, is something that we're working on first.
Well, I think that the incident we had at St. Mary's last December, I think if we had a supervisor, I think there was, I know that still has, you need somebody 24 hours a day supervising and who can make decisions.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Someone has to investigate accidents, incidents, complaints. These are things that need to happen. And a person who is manning the communications center, answering telephones, is not able to do that, not able to go out into the field and take a look and see what happened. Or these are things that are really important to resolve early. In fact, risk management is partly prevention. And so that's really what we need to contemplate. This isn't just a risk management position, but it's someone who goes out and is there for the troops every day of the week, 7 days a week, to answer questions, to lead them in the right direction. We can't understate the value of a supervisor.
But are we moving them from, I guess, the intake, or we're adding one now? So now we're gonna have 4 supervisors.
Yes,
Well, 2 at night, 2 during the day.
you have a total of 3, and the way it's structured, right now,
Okay.
there are 2 supervisors on, and that's a completely inefficient way to manage that.
Yeah, and I understand that there's some inefficiencies and stuff. Now, you said whenever the system is low, they're gonna be able to jump on a truck.
Yeah,
Who
there
they
are
jumping on
people in the
truck with?
office,
The
there
other
are-
supervisor?
Pardon?
Who are they jumping on the truck with? The other supervisor?
No. There is a person presently working in the admin side in the communication, in the office, that can be jumping, is an EMT, then can jump on the truck right now.
That's the 40 hours a week,
Yes,
8 to 5.
yes,
So that's who they would be jumping in with, and that's
Yep.
the time they would be covering.
yes, sir. Well, on an ambulance, yes.
Yeah, we would need to address and look at that. I didn't realize that because that position is, we've not been paying that position overtime. It's a salary paid position. And I understand that she is jumping on the truck now. So that wasn't allowed before, so we need to talk about that as far as overtime.
Okay, that's fair. It isn't our interest to add more administrative costs in the office for that. But basically, if a person's there and they're capable, we just can't let the system run out of units. We have to put what we can into the field so we can meet the needs of the patient.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's all the employees want. They want leadership or supervision they want participation of the people, and that's all they want. And I think it's not an untoward price to pay to safeguard your employees and your system, because that's my opinion.
I just want to ask a question. So the ultimate end of the organization chart, the director, 2 supervisors, and then the night supervisor, is that the ultimate?
You're gonna have 4 supervisors.
Well, just $2 extra for the night supervisor, is what I was hearing.
Yes,
And then the day supervisors?
What's the regular supervisor get paid?
they get
Then why is there a
paid.
difference between them?
Well, in that world, we're,
Sorry,
we,
something else. Saw something shiny.
and if I get out of turn here, but the day supervisors are gonna have a different level of responsibility, if you will, as far as tasks and such get set forward. We should look at annualizing salary, making the supervisor a salaried position that's on a day shift, not an hourly rate.
Okay.
They should be looked at to be pushed into a salaried position. Is that where we were headed with
Yeah,
that?
and then
Night
create a
guys-
stipend for any overtime shifts.
And if they happen to come in, you know, maybe we got 14 people went to the wrong restaurant, 8 got sick, and we need them to come in and fill a shift, work out a stipend. So it's not an hourly rate, but we would pay you extra to come in and fill this truck because we gotta have it, you know, you don't want to beat them to death, these things. So a day shift supervisor would not be in the overtime rank, but you want to incentivize them to be able to pick up something extra there too.
So what happens on the shifts or the times when there's no supervisor there at all? Then who covers? What's the protocol for that?
On a day shift?
No, right now we have 3 supervisors, correct?
Yeah, yes, but it's
So that
important.
covers
it's-
72 hours, or
it's-
120 hours a week.
They cover 84 hours a week, okay? The 2 intake supervisors. The point we're making is that the intake supervisor are not appropriate, in our view, the field supervisor would be a stronger method in which to get to supervision of the organization. The intake supervisor's jobs will change. They will no longer supervise the field. They will be focused on the communications center.
I think what you're asking, we would probably have to backfill that day supervisor with one of the night guys working an extra shift.
Well, you have 3 supervisors cover, how many hours did you say? I'm just going at 40 hours a
84.
week.
84. The intake supervisors work 7 to 7, Sunday through Saturday. They
And the
work 3 on, 4 off, 4 on, 3 off. They're sitting in the communication center.
Okay, so they got 84 hours, then when's the other super there? He's covering 40 hours?
He's
That's
there
correct.
from 6 to,
So that's 124 hours out of the
but
168.
the way they're structured, right now there are 2 supervisors on. The operations supervisor and the intake supervisor are on staff right now.
Same time.
They're the same.
So
Okay.
he runs Monday through Thursday, and they're working Sunday through Saturday. At 1900 tonight, there will be no supervisor on shift.
But a day supervisor's not gonna help that either, though.
Correct.
So if we, even if hiring another person isn't helping have a supervisor on at all times.
I don't believe that's true. Let's try it one more time. If I'm
Okay,
not-
at
if I'm
4
not
o'clock
mistaken-
today, what supervisor's on call?
At what time?
At 4 o'clock today,
4 o'clock today, the person who's working in the communications center.
okay? At 1 o'clock in the morning,
The last person who worked in the communications center is on call.
they're on call as
home.
supervisors. So you always have supervisors on call then?
Yes,
Okay, but they're not always there.
that's correct.
And we pay them,
A premium.
yeah, we pay them
Yeah.
to be on call.
We pay them a premium.
Okay, I don't,
Yeah,
I
Well,
guess I'm
the-
just not following what this extra person's gonna do, because
We're
we
going to.
get too heavy in a lot of these places.
Yeah. We
And-
believe that the focus of the communication center should be in communications. It should not be field supervision. It's a reorienting of the jobs. We still need to have 2 dispatchers. We still need dispatchers there every day. The question is
Yeah.
whether that function is also a supervisory function, and we don't believe that it is.
So why can't supervisor be a paramedic?
They
that's
are.
On
They are.
call?
They
And
are.
have them on a truck then?
Well,
You're saying there as a backup for it, if we need to back up, if we're having too many 0 statuses, then I can understand justifying it there. Right now, I don't see the benefit of having this person there. It's just gonna be one more administrative person, is what I see it. And I could be way off. I don't know. What am I not getting something here?
Well, in EMS, you need your supervisor to be in the field. He needs to respond to large-scale accidents, complaints at the hospital, all that stuff that is just roaming throughout the system. That's what your off-line supervisor.
But I can have a
do.
supervisor on a job carrying a hammer too, and then whenever something comes up, he can set his hammer down and go address stuff. He doesn't have to be sitting there going, well, I'm gonna go visit hospital for a little while, you know, that's just administrative duties there. It doesn't have to be a supervisor doing that. Or you can say, look, we're gonna make you supervisor, we're gonna pay you a $2 premium, like we did with the other ones.
One of the problems that we've, in the system and having a day shift supervisor, staff and ambulance on a constant basis, assign them to a paramedic truck, is that they're busy and they're tied up and they're not available on a constant basis to help manage the system. Versus on the night shift, their volume is lower and you can afford to have them. They're not as likely to be tied up with high volume calls, requiring them to not be available for the staff to manage the system. So I understand where you're at, Commissioner, in that, yes, you could put you could put a supervisor on the truck. The problem did turn out to be that they're not available then, and so you end up with ad hoc decisions being made because nobody is available to make the decision or to go out and take care of the accident investigation or what happened if somebody got hurt. We anticipate being a higher level of accountability, hopefully reducing supply slippage, minor damage to the vehicles, better employee morale, which then furthers less sick call, off-time unplanned vacancies in the system.
Well, the supervisor could be transporting a patient to God knows where. So then that supervisor's not here.
Correct. Generally, we could
They could be
manage-
doing that anyway. If it's, if we got a system is busy and it's low, then they have to get in a truck, we don't have the supervisor anyway, it's busy. Or if there's
That's
a
true,
big
but the
wreck.
patient comes first.
So if
okay.
they're taking care of another patient somewhere else,
Yes.
Yeah.
you don't have them available.
I mean, there's a
Both ways.
prioritization of what has to occur with regard to these supervisors. They're paramedics first. They have duties that they're assigned, but the patient comes first when regard to responding to somebody in urgent need. So I want to make sure we understand. They can be gone on a trip, that you're absolutely right
Yeah.
about that. We don't think it's working as well as it could here. We think changes can be made. We think if we restructure in the communications center and we basically do some other things, we think that it isn't going to be a full cost, but it's still there's going to be another FTE addition.
I'm still chewing on
But
it.
some of that to pay this new, would be coming from the money we had been paying our supervisors for the evening.
Right. We would expect them to not pay for evening,
Yeah.
the evening on-call
Yeah.
for supervision, correct.
So that's about half, would be about half the salary of a new supervisor.
No, the 24-hour supervisors to be on duty was gonna be paid a premium at $2 an hour and was gonna be saving or costing.
I'm talking about what we're paying
$91.52.
right now. Right now, what we're paying,
The person who's on a 12-hour shift overnight will be paid $2 an hour, or $4,576 per year for 2,288 straight hours, okay? So there would be two of them, and that would be a total of $9,152. If you then reevaluate the communications center, we do pay more than that for on-call at night answering questions. It's going to be completely offset.
yeah,
There's no
that's what
additional cost.
that's what I'm talking
Right.
about is.
Are you good with the 2 night supervisors or $2 an hour premium or not? Still thinking about that.
I'm fine with them getting a premium to be a supervisor, because why would you want the additional responsibilities and duties if you're not gonna be compensated for it? I'm just having trouble swallowing adding another FTE at this point. And we deal with this all the time with every department. Pick on the clerks over there, they probably want an extra person once in a while too to help things go a little smoother, to help get things done. The assessor always wants somebody, we haven't given them anybody either. I just haven't
We
heard
have given him
justification.
people, he just can't find somebody to hire. The sheriff wanted 3 positions that we just gave him 2.
After he justified it, we didn't give it to him at budget time, they came back. I don't know, just to have a supervisor, we can give somebody a premium during the day.
Yes, you're correct about that. You could do that.
Now, I'd rather try that, and if it becomes an issue and we're not getting things addressed, we're not having problems answered, then we can look at it again and revisit it. If you two are for it, then go ahead and vote. I'm not gonna drag this out any longer. It's another position that I have troubles
But the 2
with it.
supervisors during the day, if they're talking about making them a salary position, be it exempt with no overtime, that probably would end up saving you more money. And calling the other 2 in the evening, an additional $2 an hour. I don't know. If you can consider that position exempt or not. Supervisors during the day. Is that what I understood you to say, that you would consider them salary then?
Yes.
Then are we keeping the one supervisor doing the QRV? He would still be a supervisor?
He
Or what
would move
happens?
to a rotating schedule if we had the extra day. So he'd work a couple days, then the next one a couple days. They're always swapping
Okay.
like the other 12-hour trucks.
So we're doing away with our 2 supervisors now are gonna go to communications.
Yes, that's our understanding.
Yeah, and so we would be adding this one new supervisor.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay,
And then he would, as John said, alternate with the current supervisor on a rotating schedule.
yeah,
So there would always be someone there supervising and could be in the field.
okay.
So ultimately, when you're done, director, 2 day supervisors, 2 night supervisors at $1 difference, or $2 difference.
Yes,
And in dispatch, the future for that is,
we haven't gotten there.
We
yet.
have to restructure, we're
Yeah,
restructuring
we're on our way,
that, so-
we're on our way there.
Yeah,
But you're looking at, in our eyes, and if we get this right from the start, commission is the boss, director reporting to the commissioners. Under the director, the field supervisors would be flat. They report to the director.
mhm,
The supervisors then are assigned employees under them for their shifts that they're responsible for managing employee evaluations and all the things that go on with those types of people. So they have their team of people they would manage, because everybody would be on a constant set through rotation. So employee evaluation is the proper way to supervise the staff dealing with problems. If you've got problem, attendance problems, behavioral problems, errors that people are making, whatever the case is, those supervisors are assigned to those employees to make, they should be, while they're responsible for, even if they picked up an extra shift, they're responsible for managing
Yeah.
the staff. They've got a group of employees that they're responsible for managing, much like a platoon sergeant or something
Yeah.
like that.
I'd like to go further. Maybe I'm out of school here, but didn't we at one point consider a deputy director? Or is that never considered? I mean, my point is, I think the closest supervision can be to the field is better than having maybe an assistant to the director.
Yeah.
Because you want to have it to the troops. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I misunderstood.
that was,
we had before.
that was kind of a stillborn
Okay, well,
type thing.
but I'm
And
saying.
that- But I think
That'd be a more
getting,
effective use of a person for us.
I think getting a daytime supervisor who can actually deploy on a call is much more efficient than having two supervisors right now who cannot. So, I mean, to me,
With all that operations, man.
yeah, I,
But you're adding somebody. You're not just taking
Right.
somebody from dispatch and putting them out where they can respond to something, giving them a
Right.
title. We're not just swapping titles around.
Right. You're
And I
right.
mean, I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with being in dispatch where they can address stuff, because the supervisor's not there to just fill in an ambulance if something happens. Not the way I see it.
but they can. They're
But at
able
dispatch,
to.
you don't have them tied up with a, hell no, I'm drawing blank. You don't have them tied up with your mom trying to give her mouth to mouth and trying to solve somebody else's problem because they don't have something in their ambulance.
I can
So-
say, just after being here a month, I can tell you a lot of the stuff we're uncovering, and we're uncovering stuff every day in inconsistencies and how things aren't done and how this shift does something different than this shift. Supervision in the field would have fixed this. We wouldn't be looking at the stuff we're looking at right now if we had some supervisors that were taking care of the day-to-day shifts. There's so many things, and we're probably not naming half of them of what they do. Just talking to the crews every day and knowing the concerns before they become big is huge for an offline supervisor. Being able to respond, like you said, if we had a supervisor respond to that call you're talking about last year, it probably wouldn't have had the outcome we had.
Yeah.
And those calls in EMS happen more than we want to admit. I've got emails today from incidents that happened yesterday that we've got to follow up. Offline supervisors can handle that the moment it happens. And they happen more in the day. And if they were on a truck, they wouldn't be able to handle that. Now, the nighttime, we are going to be a little bit of a disadvantage having them on the truck. But like Rodney said, they're not as busy at night, so that supervisor would be able to take the ambulance over and handle any issue he had to. So I don't know if we're giving you all the things that a supervisor does in a day. They will be busy.
Is this the only FTE that you guys are gonna be asking for us?
No, sir.
See how much fun this one is.
We can hardly wait for the next round.
Trying to worry
Well,
you
but
on this one.
Well, the point is restructuring, whatever's convenient for you with regard to approval process, restructuring is restructuring. We are recommending some changes, and we think they need to be considered in whole. And you could conceivably, you could conceivably say no to something, and then it knocks the others out. We have to know, maybe we need to go on, but, I
Well,
don't-
and maybe that's what we need to do is let's see what else you're asking for, and then we can see which ones are priorities and work our way backwards, because if you're asking for
I
even
wouldn't be
more.
very good here if I didn't say it's all priorities.
Well, but I think we need to start at the top and
No, I
work our way
understand. No,
down.
I understand, I'm just being funny.
No, but I think,
But not really.
Not really, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're talking director, now we're talking supervisors, and
And then we're
we
going
get down into the,
now we're going
we
to
get down in with
communications
the,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah, so,
Mhm.
I'd say keep going, Ed.
Okay, Rodney, you want to do EMD? That's the next, and that's why we're saying, when you get into the FTEs,
Okay.
okay.
So, one of the charges that or recommendations we visited with you about is we discovered that the entry-level position at Cole County EMS was in the communications center. So they took a brand-new person, put them in the comm center on nights where you had no supervision, so they were making supervisor-level decisions for the system. We also learned that the system itself does not currently provide pre-arrival instructions to callers. That's out of industry standard. Industry standard is that you have a call taker that provides pre-arrival instructions through a protocol-driven script It's called dispatch life support. And we had recommended to you all that you move to implementing EMD. Your neighboring counties have it, it is industry standard. And so we're seeking to move forward with that program. In order to do EMD properly, the call taker must stay on the phone for sometimes extended periods of time, maybe a couple of minutes on a regular basis. But if we have a cardiac arrest arrive on the phone, that call taker needs to be on the phone with that caller, giving them proper CPR instructions. Many people that call us panic, they don't know what to do. This person is supposed to be our call taker, becoming a professional emergency medical dispatcher, to be offered these pre-arrival instructions. Airway maneuvering, chest compressions, bleeding control, whatever the case is. There's 30 or 40 some determinants now to come through to offer these instructions. Well, in order to provide these proper pre-arrival instructions to this call taker, I must stay on the phone, but now you've got this problem, you have one call taker. So how do you stay on the phone with one call taker, offer proper pre-arrival instructions? It's odd, well, maybe not odd, it's not unusual that calls seem to come in pairs or greater numbers at a time. Like a bellows. Calls come in multiple at a time, and then we're sitting around doing nothing. As Commissioner Shepperly notes, we sometimes we're just there. Well, in order to be available to take these calls, we need to have 2 people in that communication center, not 24 hours a day, probably in the neighborhood of 12 hours a day, 8 to 12. We've got to do a little more research on the call length time, because there are some methods we can do. We understand you guys got some pretty good recording data, so we may be able to get the proper length. So what we're asking for is to add 2 communication center personnel, 1 for each shift. So in other words, currently we have 2 people working in the communication center. They work 4 days one week, 3 days the next. There would be another person tagged with them. Their shift hours may be something more in the neighborhood of 9 to 9 instead of 7 to 7. So they're in the communication center during the peak times of the volumes coming in. This is going to become germane when we talk about call slips. We believe that there's somewhere, well, we don't know how many calls there actually are that we're not handling. Part of that has to do through the local medical facilities calling other providers. So we're missing out on some calls because we're trying to get a method set up so we can actually take the calls and understand where they're at. If we can't handle them, we can do something else. But the most important thing is to deal with the 911 side of this. Those critical patients that call in asking for help, we have some fiduciary responsibility as the ambulance call takers to the community to provide them with the proper level of care, and it starts the moment the phone rings. In order to provide that, we need to add these personnel on a day shift. And that's 2. I'll wait for Commissioner Shepperly to ask this question on this. So that's 2 for the communication center at this point. We also, because of the demand that we worked on and looking at 20 weeks worth of data, we know, and I think we visited with you earlier about this back in the spring, that in often cases there are not enough ambulances on the street, we felt, to cover the peak coverage at a 90% reliability. You all have heard some about these level zeros. They're not rampant, but they do occur. They're not for long periods of time, but that makes communities uncomfortable, but makes you all uncomfortable. We know that when we take an out-of-town trip, for example, if we have to go to Nevada, that ambulance is gone basically all day. And so you're down. So what may look like you got enough staff on, really you don't, because time on task. And so with that, we know that we have to add some unit hours into the system. In order to affect that, that's going to require a couple of people will move out of the comm center, we think, to fill these shifts, because we talked about taking the town 24 down, needing to add one. There's a whole bunch of moving parts in this. So you've seen in a budget request come across to help get this, of 4 personnel for the communication center and the 1 supervisor. So to answer your question, Commissioner Sherpley, it's 5 we're asking in total. Now we can discuss where the 4 other go, whether we turn around and hire 1 for the field and 3 for the comm center, or the 3 in the comm center move out because they were hired in as an entry-level position, wanting a field position, and it all turns out to be communication center staff that we get trained up. But that's the number we're getting to. So I'll entertain your questions.
And the 5, and if I may add too, I didn't present this, apparently I got distracted, was the concept of, we need to talk about the town 24. Did we
Yes,
talk
go
about?
ahead.
Yeah, and one of those EMTs from the communication center may find themselves wanting to go in to fill a slot. We believe the town 24 unit hour, the 24-hour truck working in town is working at a pace that's too heavy of a load for a 24-hour truck. We're seeking to reduce, eliminate the 24-hour truck downtown or in the town truck and create 2 12s. That will consume one of those EMTs that Rodney is talking about, who is in the communication center now only because they have to be. And so we want to basically move that town 24 to 2 12s, and as a consequence, that will change the distribution of the units and the employees. Now, there are some costs associated with that. A town 24-hour unit is a 24-hour unit, and the purpose of switching to a 12-hour unit gives us more flexibility, but to the employees who are working that 24-hour unit, it potentially is, the restructuring creates a decrease in salary. And we're concerned about that decrease. It was adjusted by CRMC at $1.25 an hour, but we have some issues now relating to when you take the town 24 down, what happens to the 7 employees who presently work the 24-hour shifts? And we've done an evaluation of those 24 of the employees, and without names attached to them, we picked the bottom 7 in seniority, and we basically discussed or described for you the amount of money. For instance, the 3rd column, or column W, shows the amount of money that one person makes on a 24-hour shift. That same person working a 12-hour shift in column V would be at $38,000. In other words, they would lose, under this change, $6,900. It happens that way all the way down. The difference between the dollar rates are EMTs and paramedics. They're not identified for confidentiality purposes, but the fact of the matter is those 7 people could conceivably, converting over to a 12-hour shift, lose $45,000 per annum. We want to adjust that. Now remember, when the conversion to CRMC occurred, CRMC, you guys at the county, paid the 20 to 24. You made up the difference between CRMC was paying 20 out of 24 hours. You made up the difference, and you put $1.25 in extra to the salaries to sort of adjust them. We're suggesting that a further adjustment needs to be made at this point, and allowing the employees to have an adjustment that will at least almost break even. They'll lose some money, but it won't be a tragedy, or well, it depends on what side you're on. If you're a tragedy.
Just to be clear, for these 7.
Yeah, these 7. So we're asking for an adjustment to these 7. We showed you on the right column, column Y, the amount of money there per hour they're losing. We're recommending to you that you consider a $3 an hour adjustment to the paramedic and a $2 hour adjustment to the EMT. It won't make them whole, but it'll certainly help enormously with regard to the adjustments in compensation. The reason we think that's important, aside from the fact is to help the 7 people not take the entire change on their back, is we believe that ultimately our goal is to maybe move another 24-hour unit to a 12-hour program. and maybe then yet another. And we think our long-term goal is to equalize salaries, equalize shifts, equalize workload, and have a standard set of cost related to providing EMS. Right now, it's all over the board. And so this is our first step toward attempting to take people from a 24-hour shift without damaging them horribly, and then to set us up for the next 24-hour shift, or in the alternative, maybe we can evaluate the concept of a standard salary scale for our paramedics and EMTs from entry level to 10 years to 15 years, so that, and they, whatever shift they work, they make that salary. We can certainly discuss that, but that is the thing I wanted to make sure we brought to you as well. We know that maybe it's too late, or not too late, but it's a lot of stuff to ask in one commission session, but we just really feel like the time is acting not in our favor with regard to, we have a timetable we were asked to meet, we need to bring recommendations to you, and we need to sort of start the process to, we're hoping that we don't lose anybody because of this adjustment. And we're hoping that as a consequence, we don't have to retrain new hires and pay the same amount of money anyways. And we're hoping also that maybe one or two of those people are being displaced, maybe wants to apply for one of those supervisory slots, you know, at night. So there are a lot of moving parts, but we're trying to minimize the financial hurt to the medics and EMTs as they change off this shift. And as I said, our recommendation, instead of the $1.25 an hour that has been used, is $2 for EMTs and $3 for paramedics. Sorry, Rodney, I just wanted to make sure we got that in.
Yeah. Somewhere down the road, it would be nice to have a pay scale, pay structure, and that's what, 10 years maybe to do that or something like that, but somewhere down the road, it'd be nice to get to that point. As
We
we
agree.
have
What you
have
is
attrition and.
You have a policy,
and
or you have a
retirements and-
in the county itself, you have people with a wide variety of longevity.
Yeah.
Beginners to 25 years. And so there is a huge gulf in salaries. And so the question is, when you annualize or standardize something, where do the hurts happen? You know, and that's what we have to look at. But I think it's a worthwhile project to see if there's a way to annualize wages so there's a lot less confusion and more fairness on entry level and how much experience is granted when they join, all that stuff. That's really, in the EMS business, that's critical. If you want a paramedic coming to work here from, well, I don't care, Wichita, Kansas, and that person looks at your pay scale and says he has to start at this number or she has to start at this number, and it's $3 below what they're currently getting in Kansas, and you allow no credit for experience, you're not even in the market. You're just starting everybody at the bottom, and they work their way up if you're lucky enough to get them. So we need to have a scale, a schedule, you're right. But right now, we would like you to allow us to take that town 24-hour unit down, because we also have some clinical issues we're trying to get. Response times and quality of care are uppermost in our mind. So I'm sorry to interrupt Rodney, because I know I don't want to blow the EMD out, but it's probably one I forgot. I just wanted to get it on the table.
Well, we asked you to come in here and tell us what we needed to do. So that's what you're doing.
Okay,
I don't know if we can do them all at one time, but.
We're not
but
trying to put you in suspension
No,
here, Ed.
no.
I want to ask one question. The EMD, is that a software system or is that just standard?
Well, no, it's standards and software, and I have a quote here that I've given to the commissioners and stuff. We can discuss that, however, whatever order you'd like to go in. I'll stop at this point and see if there's what questions you may have, because a lot of this, you can see how this starts tying together, taking the down 24 down. We don't want to have, we could move some EMTs. We can begin the hiring process. We need to begin the hiring process of the communications center workers, so we can begin the process of training. It's about a 10-week process to get the EMD stuff just beginning to get started. And so, anyway, I'll let you ask your questions, and we go back from there.
So, in communications, you're wanting to have one emergency medical dispatch and one supervisor at all times, or?
No, sir.
Okay.
We will have our goal is to have 6 full-time communications personnel. There will be 2 on, let's just say 2 on a day shift, and one call taker at night, because the volume should be lower, so they can handle the volume.
Okay.
The supervisory position, we might come up with some leads in the communications center, but at this point, that can be managed most likely from the field supervisor position to manage those folks. So we're not participating, we're not asking to throw supervisors in the communications center. We're going to take down that intake supervisor's position. We'd like to move the supervisory role to the field, and then we'll work through having a lead or something of that nature in the communications center.
So you don't see a supervisor in the communication center then?
Not in the near future.
Okay. So when we talked about adding 5 FTEs, I'm just trying to get there. So you're adding 1 more during the day.
Yes, sir.
Well,
And then-
actually, so that would be 2 people.
Like 2
Right,
people
okay.
for the whole
Sure.
week, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
yeah, in the comm center, yes, sir.
Right. So now I'm to 3, and I don't know where you're at 5. Are you not, I mean, obviously we got people in there now.
Okay, all right, so we've got the 2 folks in there now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna add, so that there are 2 people in the communications center during the day. So as they rotate, so let's just say there'll be 2 in there now.
Right,
So that puts 4 people on the day shift,
right.
and then there'll be 1 for each night shift position, because they rotate through, so that's how we get to the 6 total in the communications
Mhm.
center.
Right.
So we're asking to add, we anticipate that the folks that are in the communication center today, that are on the night shift, will go to a truck.
Okay.
Because they were hired in seeking ambulance work, so that, you know, we figured out that's the intro. So we anticipate, there are 3 people working in that communication center on the night shift. 2 people share a truck, so one night, one of them rides the truck, and one's in the communication center, and the next night they're on the truck, and they're in the comm center. So we anticipate those 3 to come out of there.
As long as there's another position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as there's a position for them to get out of the ambulance, which opens up, because that opens up 2 spots on the night shift.
Right.
That's where we get to the 2 additional for the
Okay.
night. So we're trying to use everybody we have over here and hire communication center
Right.
personnel.
But we're really only adding 2 there.
Yes, sir. That's, yeah.
I mean, 2 additional. There's already people there.
Yes, sir. Those spots are already there. And it could turn out that one of those 3 people want to stay in there and we end up hiring an EMT to go to the truck. But in what we presented in that budget paperwork said 4 communication center personnel and 1 full-time supervisor for simplification of the process.
And our person night's not gonna be the newest hire, we're gonna have somebody that,
If they turn out to be the newest hire, they're going to be trained.
they're gonna have
You know,
experience, they're gonna
and
know how
there'll
to
be a
do it.
There will be a supervisor on to answer the questions
Okay,
that this person currently is trying to struggle with.
yeah.
So you're saying 5 new employees, not necessarily in the dispatch center,
Right.
Correct.
but 5 total?
Could be 4 in the comm center, correct, and 1, we're asking for the 1 supervisor.
Okay.
New.
Well, it's really only 3
Well, I
FTEs,
don't-
additional FTEs.
I don't think we've got to the demand analysis yet. Because what you're seeing is there's 1 supervisor, the day supervisor we're asking for.
Mhm.
2 additional in the comm center, there's your 3.
Right.
But when we convert that 24 to 12, it takes 8 people. We currently have 7, so there's another one we gotta hire. And then we're looking at moving that 11 to 7 truck to a 10 to 10, and it goes 7 days a week. We have a medic to work it, but we don't have an EMT, so there's another FTE. That's your 5.
Okay.
And that's where we anticipate the 3 coming out of the comm center and filling that spot.
I think it's just because we haven't went over the demand analysis where we're changing the shifts, all the shifts.
So, one of the things, since John brought that up, and you guys have seen this, this is a mere example of what something could look like for a shift. This is not, we're not saying this is what it is. Well, our preference would be to lay out we know where we need the trucks on, to let the field staff give them parameters and say, help us design a work schedule that fit within these parameters. So you can see up there, the top row up is 10 to 10. This is where we're getting into cleaning up some of these where we're short on the weekends and evenings. Here's a Sunday, for example. You can see that the current schedule are the red lines. This is Sunday evenings. Are the red bars are the current schedule. The blue is what we're anticipating taking this to. So we're going to add some hours in there in the evening to help manage these. On Sundays, they just get killed. The system is really busy for the amount of vehicles that are on. And so that's why the schedule change is occurring. So we can.
And you have early calls on Sunday. That's what amazes me. 'Cause we got up early. We go to 7 a.m. mass, and we're out. God, our ambulances are going all over the place before 10 o'clock.
We're at
church every Sunday.
It really is amazing, though.
So I'll entertain your questions so on this.
So we added 20 or 39 hours of coverage to staff the weekends and nights, as Rodney talked about. And so that's why it's consuming either the people we have as well as the new people that we need.
You're going to save us overtime.
Pardon?
You're going to save us less of overtime?
We hope. One of the things that can happen here is because we get late calls, and late calls cost you all a premium. And it's, by getting the shift, first of all, we're gonna adjust the start time so we don't get everybody coming on or off at once. So that you don't end up having to send a truck that's on a call near end of shift. Hopefully we'll have somebody that's coming on shift. So we can cut out that late call, a couple hours here and there that add up constantly. Or getting off late because of whatever reason. And so we hope that it should have an impact on those overtime hours. How dramatic, it's a little hard to manage, they're telling us one, but we see a reduction. You should be able to better manage the system. But you can see there's the Mondays, Tuesdays, you can see the gaps that we tried to fill in by just moving some stuff. Thursday's not really, there's a dramatic move there on Thursdays. Fridays, we cover deeper into the evenings here.
Is there
The
any,
employees have complained that our staffing on the weekends is just leaves us short all the time. And we really are exposed, and we don't need to be, or want to be exposed. We really want to make sure we have sufficient resources. Adding those 39 hours should prove helpful. Now, there's a danger here, and the danger is that our service becomes so good, people will come back to us and they'll start using this again. And we'll be back here 3 months from now saying we don't have enough resources because the demand's too high. You know what I mean? Because we have more patients to transport because people are using us. So this change is to meet our current demand and satisfy our customers. But if someone calls us and says, you know, we need to do 3 more transports a day, the system's not ready for it, per se. It might be from time to time. So we need to adjust the system to meet the current demands. If we can get the hospitals to use us and rely upon us and trust us, you're going to see us come back sometime and say, we need another day truck or another whatever because our demand is high. And I'm hoping that the commissioner will smile saying, well, that means you're satisfying people and you're bringing in revenue.
But are those emergencies?
They're
When
not all emergencies.
Transporting mental patients, I mean, can't they use a,
Well, we're
I'm
not
not
talking,
saying just a bus to do it.
we're not
but
talking mental or
I'm talking
psychiatric. We're talking,
Psychiatric.
Yeah, we're not talking
I don't care. If
psychiatric.
They got a club foot, I don't care. Just,
Well,
you're
there's-
transporting them, not necessarily an emergency, because that's the problem, is they're wanting to just get somebody out of their hospital so they can open up another bed. It's not an
You're-
emergency, so I think that,
your level of care in Columbia, where the level 1 trauma center is at, is 30 miles north or 30 minutes north here. So these hospitals are not equipped to handle a lot of the more complex cases, and that's where the customer service comes in. When it's a really bad call, they've got to get that patient up there quick.
I'm not talking about that. That's an emergency to me.
Well, for us,
If you have head trauma or something like that somebody else is easier to take care of, or maybe it's a kid or something.
We kind of consider an emergency, it's kind of like a 911 call.
But if somebody just wants to ride to the grocery store, that's different.
Right, well, yes. And so one of the, we don't know,
Sorry.
no, we know for a fact that there are neighboring ambulance services coming into your community and moving patients. Now, there's a couple of ways we know this. One is the hospitals told us they were doing this, but probably more to the point was we got a call from one of them one day saying, hey, we got somebody at their house. Can you come help us get them in their house? Those are most likely paying trips that Cole County is not receiving the revenue from. In addition to that, those are your constituents. Those aren't somebody else's eyes. There's a couple of ways of managing that. So we don't know what the revenue is on the loss. We're trying to figure that out. We're not trying to beat the drum too hard right now. We make sure we get the assets on the street that can manage it, because the worst thing we can do is call us and then we have to say, well, sorry, can't come. There's a couple of ways of managing that. One is you can put an ordinance in place barring ambulance services coming in here. But that's going to cause you to get sideways with hospitals and everything else. That's a bigger issue. Or two is we can improve the customer service instead of not everyone want to call somebody else. Or we can do a combination of both. But this goes back to, we haven't even gotten into the revenue discussion yet. We don't know. We have taken a look at it. It looks like it's light, but we don't know how light. And your rate structure's not been changed since '09.
Yeah, 13.
We need to look at that.
13.
We changed some.
13 was the last rate change.
13.
Why don't we let Osage County take the mental patients down to Nevada and,
Well, those mental patients, that's a whole other issue that we've got to work through as opposed to those patients who are stretcher bound and need an ambulance to be moved to some other place. Mental health, that is a completely different issue that I think John and the Sheriff's Department's really been working on to try to get some resolution on how to move these patients in a timely manner, because they do need to be moved out. As Commissioner Ellis was saying, they want to get them out of their hospitals. Well, there were a couple of reasons for that. One, we don't want a bed tied up because we might need that bed.
well, I think the issue we had last December, Osage County had brought that patient to Cap Region, and then we were asked to transport to Columbia.
Correct.
And that's where,
But that wasn't mental.
no, that wasn't mental, no, that was a car wreck.
So there are really three different patients getting moved,
Yeah.
if you will, out of these hospitals. It's the emergence that John was describing that need to move to a higher level of care.
Yeah.
There are those who are stretcher bound that need to be moved on maybe for long-term care. And then we have the mental health patients who may or may not need a stretcher. So that's we've started the discussion with some of the medical director. We're trying to work with the hospitals to figure this whole piece out. So there's a revenue side to this thing that we haven't even really gotten into. We're starting to look at it. We know you're generating about 300 and, I don't have the number right.
But basically, the calls you're showing us here are more medical related.
Yeah.
These are
These are
our,
your 911.
yeah, these are our 911s.
Yeah.
This is what
So
we're
it's a different,
currently
yeah.
doing.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we're currently.
so this is what we're looking at here.
And so how many calls did you find out that patients had been moved last week? What was the
Just
guess
last
on
week,
that?
It was in a matter of a couple of days, it was like 17 patients when the EMTs looked through the book. So there's a lot of patients going out, and the hospitals told us that too. They said we just call their services because we know you are busy. We told them we would like to start receiving all the calls, and then we would help find the ambulance to move them. But currently, we're not there yet with one dispatcher.
So are they calling us first?
No.
No.
They're not calling us at all.
It's actually-
They're not calling us at all.
We said we'd take on the role of providing them a provider so that we get the first crack at the transfer. I mean, that's the transfer that we should be doing for that hospital. But they don't believe that we'll do it, so they go around us.
What we've advised them is we would like to have every call for service. And if we can't handle it in a timely manner, we'll make the phone call to the other provider. that gives us the data to know what's the demand of the system. And if the demand is there to add additional resources, we'll know when that time comes.
That's what you told Cap Region, they
Yes.
liked it. What did St. Mary's
They-
say?
They're all on board. They
Okay,
agree. They
okay.
like the idea.
Okay.
It takes the burden off of them. They call one agency and we get their patient moved, which should be
Okay.
our responsibility in the county.
So we don't want them to call us quite yet because we don't have that second.
So who
We
else?
only- we only have one person.
What other services besides Osage, who else are they using? Or is it mainly Osage Ambulance
We
District?
believe it's
Mainly
mainly.
Osage, Midvale, Miller.
Say again?
Mainly Osage, Midvale, and Miller.
Okay.
So there's that whole big piece, so now it's all really woven pretty tightly together, so I'll stop and let you back into your questions here.
So you're wanting more people, but we don't know what the offset's gonna be on the revenue side.
We don't know, that is correct. It's a little bit hard for us to, first of all, a rate increase, and Ed, you might want to speak to that.
Yeah, can we talk about rates just a moment? Just-
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
And I'm going to use an arbitrary number because I don't know so let's assume for a moment that the rate, that you charge $100, okay, for something. We know that in the business of reimbursement, we know that Medicare and Medicaid are not going to pay any more than they're statutorily required to. So you can raise the rates all you wish to, and there's not going to be $1 more for Medicare, Medicaid, maybe some of the contractual ones that you have. So in the final analysis, your payer mix is probably about 45 to 25, in other words, Medicaid, Medicare. And then the commercial insurance part is probably, it's not a private payer, not a private payer. A private payer is in EMS jargon, no insurance, okay? And so likely not to be paid. So a commercial insurance carrier, employer-provided insurance, auto, that sort of stuff, there's about 22% of your business here in Cole County. So for every $100 you charge in general bills, you will have the ability to collect about 85% of that 22%. Confusing? No. So you've got $1 million of additional charges. You've got 22% of that payer mix is commercial, $220,000 billable, probably collect about 80 to 85% because commercial insurance payers pay about an 80-20 thing. So about $176,000 off of that change. So 7,000 patients, 7,500 patients, you raise it by $1 million, it's $125, let's say a patient, you're picking up $176,000. Now you can put pen to paper and check me, but I think I'm pretty close. And we got her right there. And, but the point is, the second part of the point is that you have to decide if you're going, who you're supporting. Medicare is not going to pay you more, Medicaid. Commercial insurance is very happy that you've not raised your rates in 3 years. So for the purposes of discussion, the money should probably come to the service provider who's providing services to county residents, and the commercial insurance should be asked to pay their share, even if it's only 22% of the payer mix. Because you're in effect, you're subsidizing commercial insurance.
But if it's only 22% of money, and the Medicare and Medicaid is 70% of their revenue, it's not gonna change, because they're just gonna keep paying the same amount. So you're only gonna increase.
The 22% will
Yeah.
change though.
Right, that's the only part. But that's, I'm sorry,
Which
but
is better
that
than zero.
That is medicine today. At the hospital level, at the EMS or pre-hospital level, that is the way it works. Medicare and Medicaid is only going to pay. In fact, what's occurring is commercial insurance companies becoming wise to this are seeking to mimic Medicare's reimbursement. They'd rather pay what Medicare pays. And we'd prefer they not. We'd prefer they pay what their obligation is to their patient, their subscriber. So, but there are dollars out there, and I'm glad you brought this up. It isn't just a debit and credit issue. You don't have just expenses. You have revenue that you have opportunities to collect too. One, from the rate increase. Two, from the additional volume that you're losing because they're going somewhere else. And three, maybe we need to price like critical care transports or something like that a little bit different. There's revenue opportunities here we need to obtain. And it's not all 22%. Medicare pays a higher reimbursement rate for an ALS at a higher level call than normal, than regular. So there are other rate changes that we can make that will add revenue. But I don't think you want to increase your rates every 4 years, because that's a whipsaw for the patient. You want to do a little bit every year to reflect the costs, so that you don't charge them $300 in year 4 for something you could have charged $50 here or $40 or whatever. That's something you have to think about.
But right now, we're using the rates that Cap Region had set back in 2009. We've never gone up.
Well,
Yes, we've gone up.
you have done, the rates are higher, but I mean, your point is yes, but someone needs to be on top of the rates all the time. As your director needs to understand what the reimbursement is, what the rates are, and they have to make decisions. They have to come to you and say, there's an opportunity for revenue, or this is what we need to have. So it's not just a expense thing for you. And we were told that weren't we told by your own billing company that we're the lowest billing rates around of the people they use, or that they provide services for.
We think that's true.
So who shepherds that relationship with a billing agency? They said they don't hear from us. So, I mean, these are things that we can all fix as we start getting more and more attentive to some things.
Well, there's some, and on to your point about fixing some stuff, there are probably some things that we can do today that would improve the collection percentage. But we've got to get it, the billing company is looking to go after signatures on the charts, for example. Patients need to sign the chart saying that we're allowed to do X, Y, and Z, so they can actually send this bill off. We don't get a signature, it delays it by a long period of time, because they have to send out these certified letters and all this other stuff that goes along. They can eventually turn around and bill it, so they can take 60 days before they ever get the bill out the door, but then you start losing money. And so there's a number of small things that we're working with them to try to identify, okay, where are we deficient? We know we are, all ambulance services are, and there are really kind of simple things that require, this goes back into some supervision stuff. Supervisors, let me see your stuff. I need to check this. I need to make sure you're doing these things. I need to be doing on-the-spot education. Hey, this is coming out. I'm gonna look at your stuff, Debbie, because you seem to not be quite up to speed on how this is, so I'm gonna monitor your paperwork on a daily and constant basis so I get this right. So there are a few things we think we might be able to tune up in the charts that might improve the actual dollars, because you all approve the write-offs? Who did I talk to? Did I talk to you about that? I talked to somebody about it. So we need to probably tighten that up, because they write some stuff off that we probably need to get put.
It's in the contract with them, so.
Yeah.
It's turned over to another collection.
Well, see, we're not sure how hard they're working these numbers that they turn over. And when they finally decide, well, that we're not gonna work it anymore, it should be coming to you guys to say, whoa, where'd that $300,000 go? Why did you not collect that? And hammer those guys a little bit. So we're starting that, they're paying attention to us now. We called them the first day, I had 3-4 phone calls from people at the billing office, because when they found out that you all had different moving forward, they were like, whoa. So, anyway, did you have more to say?
No, they don't want to lose your business either. They want to do everything they can to encourage you to retain as a billing company. And they're probably a very good billing company, but we have an obligation to provide attention to them. It isn't just a contractual relationship, it's more of an advocacy, saying, well, how are you doing, or what are you doing? And so these are things that you learn in the business. That's why I'm so glad somebody brought up, I think it was Commissioner Shepperly, about whether, all expense. It's not all expense. So we're leaving money on the table.
Well, when they transported my mother-in-law when she broke her hip, I thought it was very reasonable.
Well, then we're doing something wrong.
I'm like, I really expected to be double what.
Sure.
And to be fair, we, probably not the last few years, we haven't brought it to you guys, but we have talked about the rates usually. And then it becomes very political, raising those rates, so I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
We've talked about that, we've talked about the mileage charge, this is the actual rate charge on the different types of transports we do. So, we've not really
your new director is going to be really important to you as to what his or her qualifications are in terms of their experience. Because you can rely upon someone who's versed in this business to ask those kinds of questions. And that's some really good things that can happen for this county with that.
Well, you don't want to gouge somebody when
No,
they're down, but you can do a comparison of what our ambulance districts around us are charging,
Sure.
at least.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. And for humanitarian reasons, there are some patients that just are not asked to pay.
Yeah,
But as Ed was properly describing, these insurance companies, for example, not to be nasty to them, that's their job. They budgeted for that,
yeah.
and they're the one, they're at risk for that bill. And need to be, as we talked earlier, this, ambulance business is expensive. Need to be paying their fair share.
Our policies, conceptually speaking, the cost, people aren't, we have to have a charitable write-off policy, which I'm sure we do. And that's really the key. The key is that no one person should be required to pay more than they can afford or than they have. If we take care of that, then the rest of it we should be able to take care of the rest of it. Make the payers pay what they should, and the beneficiaries pay what they can. And then I think we've got a good system.
Yes, because, I was on the other side, when you have somebody in a nursing home, you call an ambulance to get to the hospital, and you have Medicare and Medicaid, $875, and the patient's responsible. You didn't call, the nursing home called to get them there. And so this happened 3 or 4 times in a matter of a few months for some individuals, and it's devastating.
It is.
It is, because
Correct.
it's there, so.
There's no argument. But that is one of the standard. A nursing home is responsible for the care.
They say they're not.
Well, no, not the money.
Yeah.
Care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about nursing homes.
All right, so we have more to. We're done with that part. There's some other things we need to make sure we check off the list.
Right, so I guess before we move on,
EMD is something you're going to approve. Can we get started on that? And that EMD piece and the FTE piece all goes together.
yeah, I want to stop at this point and see what questions you might have. Or if you want me to talk about this quote that I've given you with the EMD piece. That'll kind of tie up the communication center thing.
After I swallow all of this, I don't know if I'll be able to go eat lunch.
Well, okay.
I'm
Well,
serious.
but
This
we
is a lot that
we
we're-
need to train, our people need to be trained properly
Oh, yes.
to do their job.
You wouldn't
I
put
mean,
it- We wouldn't put an EMT on a truck that's not trained. First of all,
Yeah.
it'd be against the rules of the state of Missouri. Second of all, it's just not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? You just wouldn't do that. You don't want people answering the telephone.
No.
That don't know what they're doing and cannot provide you with some help. I could pull a tape after tape out of our communication center in Texas where we are providing, I'll bet, once, twice a day, we are doing CPR on the phone.
yeah. No, our people need to be trained. I mean, this is,
So, yeah.
this is the first part when somebody calls us, they've got to,
Well, the county has some legal responsibilities to
Yeah.
provide the right stuff. You have, more importantly, not to provide the wrong stuff. So what I have handed to you is a quote, and you've probably seen the backside of that at $49,815.00. That would be the full bore cost to implement. And this is through the National Academy. This has nothing to do with us. This is the outfit, the medical party dispatch. However, there are a number of items on this list that are not necessary to get this thing started. For example, item 18, the accreditation application fee for EMD of $2,250. That's not a necessary item to get this started. And that, in fact, getting yourself as an ACE accreditation is not necessary as an operator. Let me bring up the, do you have that one, John? We have one, it's got printed without a highlight, but we have a full, I'll get you the number here in a minute. There are a number of pieces on here, though, that brought that price tag down significantly. And we're not recommending that you have to go to ACE and those pieces right at the moment. We had our EMD guy in Texas walk through this to see what it is that would pull this thing out. Mobile software training lab at $1,500. We believe that comes in for them to come in and start training the folks. You'll note that this is the training. Let me find the line item. All right.
So line 15 was needed or not needed?
Line 15 is,
You said the mobile software training lab. Is that what you just said?
that one is needed, all right.
That is needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
You said 18 was not necessarily needed to start
that
off.
is correct.
Well, number 15 is not even in the total amount. There's
So
some
they've
zeroed
offered that
out.
one up at a no charge. So-
Oh, look
Okay.
at them go.
Got you, you're on for that one. All right, he wants
Dang,
that
man,
one.
it's like
Okay.
Christmas
All
time.
right,
Okay.
we got a yes going
We'll
here.
take all the free stuff.
Okay. So let's start at the top. Item number 3, not needed. Item number 7, not needed. Item number 8, not needed. Item number 11, not needed. 12, not needed. 14, not needed. Ah, dang, where'd that go, John? I touched something on your machine. Uh, 16, 17, and 18 are not needed to get this thing up and running. This would be, these are the items that are needed to pull off an ACE accredited communication center. I get you.
So what's the total then?
Yeah, can you back that out of there for us, John, the numbers?
So that drops
Sorry
it down
about that.
about in
I thought I
half.
had that. Say again?
I was just talking to myself. That dropped it about in half
Yeah,
for startup costs on that.
yeah.
But then
Dropped to $27,000.
you gotta have some more FTEs.
Then the thing you have to remember is, in addition to which, you're going to pay your people to be trained. So there'll be some costs associated with the training. Now, you're paying to receive training, but the people who attend training are going to wind up being compensated, right?
Yes.
And is this at Cox, or where do they go for training?
They would have it, they could have you, they can come here.
Okay.
Now, there are classes that are produced around various places in the state that you could send folks to. I don't know that we could get that any cheaper.
Okay.
We could work with the EMD guy to see if we can get that down. I don't know if we could send our guy up here any cheaper than what they're doing because of some rules in the EMD world who can teach where. But I know they hold classes. There was one in, I think, Dade County recently, now down in Mount Vernon, and there was one in Greene County. So you could send people to these programs, or we can get them to come here and put on the program.
And how long is the program?
40-hour program.
Okay.
Is this something on state contract, or is this?
No. No, there's nobody else doing this. I mean, there might be, this is the standard in the industry.
So is this a sole source then, or? So you talked about taking the 24 to 212s, and you talked about taking the 11 to 7 to a 10 to 10.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And so-
moving it to 7 days a week as opposed to the,
Okay. And so is that where the 39 additional hours of coverage comes in?
Yes, sir.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
And so all that with the supervisor and the people in communications and stuff works out to 5 additional FTEs.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you had to guess how much we're missing out in revenue, what would that number be?
Well,
And just give me a big range.
Well,
100 to 200.
oh, I think when if you're looking at one call a day over 260 days, 260 calls times how much your average bill? $800 to $1,000? All right, yeah, so you're talking, $160,000 there, $260,000 there at a collection rate of somewhere around 45 to 50%. That's what you're losing. That's just one call a day for 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. There is a lot of opportunity, but it's not all free money. We have to work to get it.
Right.
We have to serve these hospitals, these patients well.
And that's without any rate change also.
I'm sorry?
That's without any rate changes,
That's without rate change. They're just taking, and some of the averaging I'm using, so if you penciled the paper, I may be wrong, but probably pretty close.
well, yeah, I mean, if those calls are generating, let's just say the 350 in actual cash, that's
Yeah.
about 100,000 if you did 1 day.
Yeah.
And so the goal here is to get it set up so we don't have any slipping out. None. We handle the work. We're better than everybody else. We're not gonna let your citizens be handled by somebody else unless it's system overload.
So basically all these changes requires other than some software and stuff, it doesn't require any additional ambulances, it doesn't require any additional
We're not.
other expenses.
We're not asking for new ambulances. Now, the question about where the communication center's gonna sit. there- You've probably heard that one come along here, all right?
Everybody wants this. It's nice to
Everybody
be
wants
needed.
it. Now,
It's nice.
obviously, you've got 3 options, right? Stay where it's at, physically move it to the police department, or physically move it to the sheriff's department. Now, once that's sorted, I don't know what anybody's inclination is on that, but we can get started without moving stuff out of EMS today. Now, our recommendation is going to be probably to have it out of that building somewhere, but we don't have to do any of that to get started here. So to say somewhere down the road, to get this stuff going, we don't anticipate an additional cost.
Yeah, the equipment we've got right now, Southridge, is adequate for,
Yeah, I'm thinking you just got the thing set up to be able to have two positions, so we can have that
okay.
call taker position. We've got the ability to have 2 call taker positions.
So-
We can implement it as is now.
Okay,
The
okay.
radio console system that you guys purchased a few years ago, that is able to be relocated
Okay,
by design.
So,
okay.
So we're not being repurchasing any of that.
We currently, I guess, because we currently have 2 consoles over there, and we're set up to be able to run 2 dispatchers at a time. Actually, we were training one last week, so we were kind of dual running last week, so it's a good test.
Do you have an obligation to bring up the stretchers now, since you're talking money? He was asking equipment.
Well, yeah, that's.
Well, we already know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't want to have you say it
Yeah.
again. Well, why didn't you say that?
So, I'll ask it here, and anybody that might be watching, call the telephone. If you know of something we've missed, say something, because we're tired of coming back to you going, oh, we screwed that up because we had bad information. You're tired of hearing from us, oh, well, where did that come from? We're extremely sympathetic to your all's position on this. We are owned by a hospital, and we compete for in the ambulance business with MRIs and lab work and everything else on a daily basis. And so we understand EMS is just one mere function of the county's government. And we want to give you guys the right information the first time so that you can make your plan and move forward and your citizens are happy. That's where we want to be. You're taking good care of your people.
We want to be the
Reasonable
best
cost.
in the state of Missouri.
Exactly. And they want you to be there.
We have added some stuff in next year's budget that we're looking at is an upgraded CAD system, but we could start this process without it. But going forward, long term, there will be some other items that we'd like to look at.
So, well, to John's point, there are, in the budget piece, for example, okay, one of the things, as we didn't talk about this, is an EMS survey. I'm thinking about this. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
a
EMS.
survey.
Okay.
Okay. There are two things going on in the ambulance business. One is making sure that we're providing a good customer service to those we serve. That's the right thing to do for the entity because, as Ed said many times, we have to know we have to measure how we're doing before we can figure out where we need to make pressure at if we need to change. The second piece to that is it's becoming common wisdom within the medical world. Well, hospitals are getting paid based upon customer satisfaction. If you have a poor patient satisfaction score, Medicare is taking upwards of somewhere in the neighborhood of 2% of your money and reallocating that to a service. So let's just take the two local hospitals. Here, Hospital A gets a poor satisfaction score, Hospital B is getting a better one. They're likely to take 2% of Hayes and move it to B's. It's incentive to do better. It's becoming common wisdom that that is going to occur in the ambulance business. You do not want to be behind the curve on that, figuring out what's your level of customer satisfaction when that hits. We think that may come on as soon as 2018. So you got about a year to figure out, okay, how well are we serving our folks? And if we need to make adjustments to make that plan happen. So, depending on the number of trips, I've added, I don't know that number off the top of my head, it is in the budget that I submit. But for today's purposes, we're not asking for big machinery. These are not big dollar cost on this stuff. Was there anything else that we added in there that needs to be highlighted?
We would like to know how to move forward on the COTS though.
I thought it was all set. I shut up because I thought it was all set.
Just saying.
I'm gonna wake it up, so.
Yeah. Service contracts. I think that we had to come back and ask for some money in the service contracts because something got missed or didn't, or we added something in the middle of. We think we've got that thing figured out as to what that dollar amount really is. We think that's accurate in the budget. We've called people. We know that some of this stuff's gonna come due like in May, and this goes into some of that Gurney stuff. Some of those are gonna fall off, and there'll be some service contracts associated with that, so. Oh, all right. So I guess down to the last thing here to visit about has to do with the planning purposes of PTO, what we call paid time off, vacation, holiday, sick time, right? They get those three things, and it turns out to get 300.
On average, the sum of those three are 344 hours per employee per year. Now, some employees get more, some employees get less, but the average is about 120 hours a year in sick, 120 hours a year in vacation, 104 hours in holiday pay, of which you can only accrue to keep 96. If I'm right, that's 344 hours. 344 hours times, let's say, an average paramedic wage of $18 an hour, or no, so let's go with the other. 344 hours times like 46 employees is probably about 16,000 hours. 16,000 hours at whatever number you have a liability that you're booking and not recording as in the budget that's occurring right now, that basically you're calling it you're calling it overtime, but unscheduled overtime. But you're paying for vacation, sick, and whatever, and it's not unscheduled, it's just inconvenient. And so you're basically according, it's like 15,000 hours of money due to employees. Employees are taking it, you're paying them their time off, but the replacement cost is costing you a lot of money. And you guys have said something in the past, you felt that we were spending way too much money in unscheduled overtime, but in point of fact, that unscheduled overtime is a liability you created. You just didn't put it in the budget. At least that we can see. We've looked through this budget 100 times. We can't find one schedule. So basically what you say is overtime, and then, is there an unscheduled overtime budget too?
No.
So-
Within
so-
that figure, scheduled and unscheduled.
Yeah, see, the unscheduled though
Wait.
is,
Being independent
Training,
businessmen,
the-
we're getting screwed.
the unscheduled is training. The unscheduled is a call-in for a long-distance transfer, a call-in for absenteeism, and you apply the sick pay to the absentee, but you don't apply the cost. The cost is part of your overtime when the person filling it.
And part-time.
Yes, but the part-time, in order to fill, and I did this in my pea brain, 15,000 hours of time off with 30 part-timers, that means they'd have to work 527 hours a year. Your part-timers don't even work one day a month. So we have to have part-timers in order to meet that goal. Right now, all this overtime is really, employees are working, they are two minds. They're working too much, but they're also signing up for work. It's overtime, they get paid good money for it. Some of them are really hungrier than others. But in point of fact, we have to really bolster that part-time staff to knock that overtime down and to save people's health. So how many more, and that's gonna mean uniforms and physical exams and that sort of stuff. How many more part-timers can we have? Is that something that's required to be approved?
We don't have the number, you know, we just say this is how much part-time money you have. So you can get as many as you can get for that money.
So you're
But-
saying part-timers are only working like one day a month?
But you're,
But they're
yeah.
getting their free CE and they get
No, I
free
mean, you're-
uniform and they
you're-
get.
And he's on top of that right now, John is, and talking about like he's not here, but.
By policy, it's actually worse than that. It's one shift every 6 weeks is the requirement.
Okay, but
Is that
that's
what
what
their
you said
policy
right
is?
there, so that's one thing we're working on.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, you're asking for 5 more FTEs?
yes, sir.
So that would help eliminate some of the unscheduled overtime, which we'll call it,
Okay.
right? Yes or no?
That was not the purpose. The purpose was to meet our demands.
Why wouldn't you use that to help eliminate some of that? They can
Well,
hop
you-
in a truck,
It-
right?
Yeah, if we can put the extra unit up on the weekends.
I'm just trying to find a way to help justify it, because right now I'm not for all these.
I understand.
So, let me just back into a piece here. So
All
we
right,
can-
please do.
Did you say pizza?
Yeah.
Back into
You're like
pizza?
Snoopy and chocolate chip cookies, aren't you? So, we submitted a document, and we had, at the time, we didn't realize all the hours. My liability is about 5,000 hours short, because we didn't understand how some of this worked, but figuring at 10,500 hours accrued vacation, sick time and available, that's the liability on the books. Figuring that we've got about 55% paramedics and 45% EMTs. That salary of an average paramedic is about $19.51, and the average salary of an EMT is $13.01. And if we parse those hours out in those same percentages, if we could fill that liability of 10,500 hours with part-timers, that's $175,000. Assuming we have to fill that with a full board. Overtime, that's $261,000 is not in the budget.
So you saved about 90,000.
If we can get the part-timers to come in.
Okay, so that covers about 1 FTE.
Under whose math?
Salary, benefits, plus what they've
Well,
been
if you're
getting in
talking to
overtime.
supervisor, yeah, but an EMT at $13 an hour, come now, Commissioner.
So,
Let's go look at some of these numbers. We were up to 50,000. How much is, benefits and stuff? That's
40%.
30 to 40%,
Yeah.
so
40,
that's
strong 40.
70,000. Okay.
so.
So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we're getting up there.
Well-
You go $13 an hour, that's 26
Now,
grand a year.
there's some
That's
other-
way different than 70 grand that we're looking at when they work their FT or their full-time in there.
Right.
Or overtime, I'm sorry. OT.
So to help you out a little better, with the policies, now we haven't seen all the policies, we hear lots of things, we haven't seen lots of things, and oftentimes what we hear is not what we see. We understand there may be some county policies on the use of overtime, or your PTO and sick time, that haven't been readjusted since 1999 or something well before you got EMS as your operation. And we believe we understand that their use of sick time and vacation time does not comport with what would be, A, maybe even with current county policy, and B, is utilized in such a manner that it's abused. And so we end up with holes in our schedule. Just take sick time, for example. And maybe we'll just ask us out here, what's the rule on calling in sick?
You gotta cough a lot.
Okay? You get pneumonia and fall down, or what is it? Okay, okay. So how many days can you be sick, and are those occurrences in an attendance policy? And so how many occurrences do you accumulate before you're terminated?
We don't have 3 days consecutive, you need a doctor's excuse out of the time.
So,
EMS has a little bit different policy on that.
So what I'm getting at is we can manage some of this sick time better and PTO use by policy. But we'll have to come back to you with that information because you guys have to sign policy. We don't write that we found it. But if we can get the governance and go ahead to work on some of those types of policies, we can better manage some of this sick time. If people use sick time like vacation time,
Well, that's what we brought you in to look at everything and tell us
okay.
what's,
And we're not here to.
what
complain
needs to
about staff.
be,
It's-
what works and what needs to be changed.
People are, people will do what they're allowed to do.
Yeah,
And you guys are suffering from some of this abuse of your kindness.
okay.
And so we can help with that.
I don't like being told we don't have to be so kind.
No, that's what, I mean, seriously, that's what we need for you to tell us.
Not to be so kind.
That's
No,
right,
but our employees need consistency.
yeah.
They need support. They need to understand what they're doing matters, and they need to so there's a lot of that that's missing too. So we have
Yeah.
an equal responsibility as their leaders to provide that guidance. At the same time, when they get that, they're going to perform for you.
Yeah.
They're large, by and large, good people, and they're going to do a good job for you. We just have to make sure we have the tools and the resources for them. An employee is going to gravitate toward a 24-hour schedule or whatever because it's easier for them. But they understand clinically changes need to be made, and that's what we expect.
Well, as you said from the very beginning, it's amazing the longevity of the employees who have stayed with us
Stunning.
from the beginning, and that's not
Yeah.
normal, you said. So yes, we
That's great.
we appreciate that. It's,
Pardon?
That's countywide. so-
yeah, we appreciate,
Yeah.
I mean, they are appreciated. It's,
Yeah.
When you were talking about the part-time covering for the vacation sick at the end of those hours, currently we have 225,000 in that part-time. That gets used.
I need to go call my store, just tell them I'm gonna be late, I'll be right back.
You can text them from here, Sam.
I
Oh,
don't have my
you
phone
don't
with me.
text?
I don't have my.
Yes, he
phone.
did. He did.
Do you
cut that
text?
out.
No.
Yes.
But in his
We're
budget,
gonna
he's got
get you
like
text.
441,000 and for overtime and 225 for part-time. You have that. Is that what you did, or 275?
You got 4.25 in there for overtime and 2.25 for part-time
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, so I was looking at that too.
Okay, so some of that may be a misunderstanding on our part as to how that number, we're willing to take another look at that. But, so the overtime line is what then?
It's probably about 4.
Scheduled and unscheduled.
Right.
And so what's the part-time line for?
Part-time. To
To-
fill for these.
So those two combined should cover all that.
What's the salary line for?
Salary is full-time salary.
2,080 hours?
No, but is that, huh?
It's 2,080 hours.
Well,
Oh, well, then it's not right. Because your straight time, your 2,080 hours, then there's another row for overtime, scheduled overtime. Is that your overtime?
the overtime is scheduled and unscheduled.
Okay, so then you're short, because your scheduled overtime is those shifts, that extra $200,000 or $300,000 you're paying just for their schedule.
Yes, it's about half
Yep.
is for scheduled and half is for unscheduled. And then you have part-time.
But I just, but I
400
thought,
and some in the overtime line. But-
all right,
Half of that is your scheduled overtime, the other half is for unscheduled overtime.
okay, and unscheduled overtime is to cover the whatever.
Vacation, holiday,
Okay.
sick.
So you think the sum of those budget items, the overtime and the part-time, should do it?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe it is our,
Check that, but I
We'll
mean,
check a stronger look on that.
yeah, I mean, the spreadsheet that you sent us, Rodney, you've got 282,000 in scheduled overtime. And then if you use that unscheduled number that you had up there, using the hours that you need to cover,
mhm.
gives you 544,000. But should be able to cover part of that through part-time.
Right, and part of what we're missing there is the training and
Sure.
those extra activities that. come
Yeah,
out.
standbys, training, yeah.
Football season.
Special events, yeah, that stuff,
That's
yeah.
what we're missing.
Yeah.
Fair.
To get
Uh-huh.
totals on.
I know we bring you a lot at once. Our people are sitting there, waiting for answers.
Now they're sitting there watching the monitor.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about that, I'm talking about, we've been here about, what, 6 weeks? We started on July 26th and whatever it is now, so maybe 7 weeks. And they've been very patient and they've been very good, but they know that changes are coming and they're rooting for some changes. But they're waiting, they want to know what the changes are, what can we do? And I understand it, we need to be responsive to them as well.
We're dealing with different stuff, though. You got your inefficiencies, which we can work on. You got
Yeah.
your deficiencies, and then I guess you got your spots where we're just not performing at all. And I haven't heard anything about us not performing. I think that our ambulance system has been, I don't know where we compare around the state, but I think we've been well performing. You know, you have occasional issues. Well, we had one last winter where you had an issue. Haven't really ever heard of anything else. I think a lot of it is inefficiencies right now we're dealing with. If there's deficiencies, then we probably need to deal with those first. If we have people that we're not serving, our constituents that we're not serving, and you'll bring that to us, say, well, we need these two people because we can be doing these transports. I have heard one complain about somebody having a, not necessarily a medical emergency transport. They had to come from Osage County and they got billed more. So where's the benefit of us having our own emergency medical service if we're not gonna have access to it? So I don't disagree with that at all. But we gotta be able to justify this. What are we gonna get? Cause what this amounts to is what, $500,000, $750,000 of stuff that we're asking for? You know, where's that all gonna come from? What's our budget? 5 million, 6? Yeah.
No.
4.4.
I'm sorry, I don't have the budget in front of me, but didn't you ask for $174,000 in those 5 FTEs and then the $127,000, which is the benefits, for about $270,000? That's it.
Well, I think he's talking to the whole shebang there.
Yeah.
It's right at.
Yeah, I'm looking at the whole shebang. So right now, today, you're asking for 5 FTEs.
Right,
That's gonna be $250,000 right there.
with the benefits, correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't candy coat it, I rub it
No,
around and poop.
I'm fine.
I'm gonna make it stink as bad as I can, and hopefully it comes out smelling better in the
Well,
end, you
but
know.
if we,
Quit stinking after a while.
if we can answer extra calls because we've got more people, that's gonna bring in more money. If we adjust
Maybe.
our
Still
rates,
have cost of doing it
if we adjust our rates, that's gonna bring in money too, so.
for 22% of it.
Well, but I'm just, it's,
You can hit me. I'll play devil's
No,
advocate all
no.
day long, so we're just got,
Do you
We
have
got a
any
whole
sort
lot.
of suggestion as to what we should do with the rates? Have you guys looked at that?
We have, again, getting a look at it, we have some salary information, we're not ready to say on that right.
There's some opportunity for you, let's put it that way.
There are some small things, like I was saying earlier, that I think we can do, maybe working, that we've already heard about.
I'm ready to approve any revenue we're missing out on.
Yeah.
no, but I'm just saying, there is gonna be more opportunity for us to bring in more funds to cover some of this cost.
Yes.
But
Yes.
again, this is, we asked you here to tell us what we need to do to make EMS more efficient. That's what you're telling us.
Yes.
So we can take your recommendations and say yes, or we can just say, well, thanks, go back to Texas, and we'll just continue,
I'm
you know.
offended at that, since I'm from Michigan.
Oh, Michigan, I apologize. But, I mean, it's.
Get with you.
I don't send him to Texas.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ed.
I'll go to Texas if you wish.
But I assume.
You're our customer.
I assumed, when you came in, there's gonna be a lot of changes.
Yes,
There's gonna
there are.
be some expense to it.
Yes.
I don't like to spend money any more than Jeff does.
Oh,
but
I love
think-
to. That's why I gotta work so many jobs. And I get married too often. There's costs associated with everything.
What we're
There
doing
is.
is, this is the groundwork for,
Yes.
for a good system.
Yeah,
And that's what we're asking for. We're just
Yeah.
trying to make it, the only thing is, we sort of confuse good with great. We want it to be a great EMS system.
Yeah, that's
You're in
what
the
I want.
state capital, for goodness sakes.
well, it's truly a matter of life and death. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
What
Yes.
you're doing, what you do is, so,
One of the things that we believe that is that we can get the system more efficient, so the volume, once we get a few extra unit hours added into the system and fix an appointment type schedule, we should be more efficient and be able to handle more volume without having to add a lot of resources, if any, in the near future.
I like the supervisors. I like the restructuring the supervisor. I think our communications, we are delinquent. It's substandard. We have to bring that up. I mean, those, I don't think we have any choice. I think that's. No, you're quiet, Chris.
No, I'm letting you go, Sam.
He's had enough sand in his ears for one day.
Yeah.
Well, we know we're pressing, and we know. But again, remember, as you said, you brought us in to take a look.
Yeah.
The other issue is that we have a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
And so we really want to give you your director, so you've got someone that can go to work with. But we want to leave that director with a plan. And we want to get a plan from you so that he or she doesn't have to start again. So,
You guys are ready today, or if you want to?
Ready today for what?
I guess
Every
we'll
one
get
of 'em?
answers. I don't know.
I guess it boils down to, we just gotta know how we wanna move forward, because it's a lot to do, if we wanna accomplish some of this by the end of the year. And right now, you have a whole team of people to implement it, versus the one guy we're gonna bring in, so. that's-
I'd say top priority is the one guy we need to bring in. That's the director.
Yes.
And top place I see that we're deficient is in our communications. And I was kind of surprised how all that worked, because I thought that they would at least talk to them while they're headed to the emergency, make sure you can keep them calm or whatever, but no, they're going, okay, ambulance on the way, and they hang up. And, you know, that's different. The supervisor position, I don't know if we need to hire another FTE for that or for the supervisor position, or whether we pay premiums. I want to chew on that one.
Do we have any double paramedic trucks?
I think we need to eliminate some.
So, but we're reorganizing the supervisors is basically what it comes down to, Jeff. And you've got to have supervisors at night regardless. I mean, you've got to have 24-hour day supervisors.
You're not gonna have 24-hour day supervision. You're gonna have people on call sometimes.
No.
No.
It'll be on the ambulance.
That's not the way we're talking
No.
about. They're on call now.
We're doing
Said
away
we
with
had
that.
before.
We're doing away with that. That's gonna save about 26,000.
Something roughly.
Yeah,
Could be a little more than that.
yeah. No, the whole idea is we will have supervisors 24 hours a day. And then we're reorganizing the day, the supervisors we have during the day.
So you're gonna have the 3 supervisors we got now,
No.
and then you wanna add one.
No,
Well, 3 spots, yes, sir.
3 spots, not the
Yeah.
existing ones. They're gonna move around titles. They're gonna.
Yeah.
You're gonna have 3
Yeah.
supervisors, plus 1 more is what you want to hire. So you're gonna have 4 supervisors. How are they gonna cover 24/7?
2 at
There's
night, 2 during the
168.
day, absolutely.
One on at a time.
1 hour
yeah,
at a time.
yeah.
Well, 4 people times 40 hours is 160 hours.
No, they don't work 40 hours.
All right.
They'll work likely a 3 days 1 week before the next, 4 1 week, 3 days. It's average 42-hour work week,
7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.,
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
But the new supervisor is actually gonna be able to respond, is actually gonna, we're gonna get a lot more out of that supervisor. And see, to me, that's,
40 hours a week, and increase that to 80.
These day supervisors are a adjunct to the director in managing the system. Is another way of seeing it. They're gonna be tasked with particular projects or be assigned roles.
It's more time to think about it, or you want us just to move forward, or what do you want to do, Jeff?
I don't know, if you 2 are wanting to go ahead and move forward, go for it. I mean, we don't have to actually vote on it, do we?
No.
You have 2 of y'all are fine with it. I don't know. It's just a whole lot to swallow.
Well-
We had the emails going back and forth, and that's why I wanted to sit and talk about it and not make a decision on the emails. via
to me, the
email.
supervisor communication knows, well, we've given you for the posting the directors.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean,
Because we're gonna be coming back wanting 4 more for the communication center, so at what point are you gonna say no? So can we make somebody else, pay them the premium, or do you hire another FTE? I don't disagree with having supervisor on staff 24/7. I mean, I don't disagree with probably any of your all's ideas, it's just paying for it all,
We're sensitive to that for you.
so. I'm not usually very sensitive, but. So, Y'all wanting to hire another one, or do you wanna just try it now to where we pay a premium to have a supervisor on board 24/7?
Well, I'd like to give them a pretty good chunk to be able to put this in motion and put it in place. And I mean, obviously EMD was one of the deficiencies that we need to get up to speed. You know, having night supervisors, I think, is a good idea. Having a day supervisor that can get out in the field is a good idea. You know, and while they're doing it, you know, if they think that the 24-hour town truck needs to go to a 12, I'm okay with that.
Yes, there's a whole lot of unanswered stuff that's come up with this, and that's even with the EMD, if we go ahead and pull the trigger on the EMD, you knocked off, what, about 27, we figured?
Right.
So that knocks it down to 22, 23. Okay, that sounds real good, but then all of a sudden we gotta train, what, 4, 6 people to go
At
through
least
it?
6, you want 6 plus maybe a couple.
40 hours a week?
Yeah.
All of a sudden that cost jumps up a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to have overtime, or you're gonna have to have more part-time to cover while they're gone. So, I mean, what kind of chunk of money are you talking? Are you saying put a pot of money and say, here's what you have to work with? And they can work backwards and pick what they want, their top priorities?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about spending money, we've obviously spent money hiring Paramedics Plus to come in here and give us an idea of what we need to do. And we've taken the steps to get this started. Now we gotta see it through, and we gotta, you know, is everybody gonna be happy with it? And they all knew that, you know, there may be some changes coming that they wouldn't like.
Right.
I think we told them that.
Yeah, so, yeah, is there a cost here? I mean, you know, $250,000 in salaries, training, you know, we could be looking at $500,000 or whatnot. But, you know, there's things that we could increase our revenue too to offset some of that stuff. So, I mean, just a few things, you know, a couple $100,000 just in billing maybe.
Well, I think that's the question. Do you want to do it all at once, or we're going to do it like how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? And do we do this over amount of time, or do we do this all right now? I don't know where we're at. Do you have the money all in there right now in contingency to just take a bite and keep force feeding it? Or do we do this little
Well, it would
at a
come out
time?
of-
Well, I see what you're saying, a little bit at a time, but I think I don't see this as we can do one little thing and then do another little thing. I think we have to do, I don't think this is it.
No, I think this is the
I think you're gonna
beginning.
be coming back.
I
and
think
you're gonna
this is the
say,
beginning.
we need to do this, and we need to move dispatch somewhere else, and we need to take a look at maybe some other things. So, I would hope so. And I think we need to be open to recommendations that you guys make to us, and obviously we gotta be responsible with our dollars and try to make it go as far as we can, but obviously if it was working perfect, we wouldn't be here today. Mike would still be our director, and we'd still be plugging away.
Yeah.
And we would have.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I think we need to implement this. I think,
All of it?
I think the supervisors, I think the EMD, I mean, communications, we're, you know, I think pretty much all of it.
How much of it are you wanting to do? I didn't bring a pen for writing checks today, so
Yeah, I got one for you. You just have to sign it.
keeping the damn pen then.
We'll just give you the stamp. You got a stamp in your office. Yeah, I'm ready to move forward on all of it, so.
I think you've done a good job.
Alright.
Huh?
Jeff, you still thinking?
No, you got two of them said and move ahead with
I
it.
need some clarification on that too,
Well, we
So-
haven't made a motion or anything.
No,
but
no.
Ask your
no.
question though.
No,
No,
I just wanna make sure that means all. And that means, the 24 town going to 12s, and $3 for paramedic, and $2 for EMT, and then that, 10 to 10 truck, another person.
Mhm.
I just need to know that it's all of that.
Mhm.
we had said that they were gonna, some of our people aren't gonna be happy with some of the changes we make on the shifts. But
You just wait till everybody else that's listening to this meeting starts coming down here wanting more employees. I'm just telling you, the doors are gonna be lined up.
you take them as they come.
First come, first serve. Y'all heard that.
Tell them to bring
See
us
y'all in the
more
morning.
revenue.
Yeah,
Tell them to bring us more
We
revenue.
haven't heard anything about more revenue. Anything that we're gonna do extra is gonna cost more money to do. We haven't had any extra revenue approved. We don't have any new revenue streams coming in. That's what I'm saying. We don't have that yet. We haven't even looked at changing the pricing policy yet. We've talked about it, but we haven't yet, so.
No, yeah.
That's why I think we're gonna do it. You take one bite at a time. Let's do some of it. Let's take some baby steps. And that's not go, we've done good keeping that fund healthy. I don't know where we're at on reserves, you know, right offhand.
I don't know right offhand.
But that's gonna
they're
be-
healthy.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be down to zero now.
no.
Well, then we can keep reducing property taxes then. I mean, we ain't in it to make money.
No. But I think we're fortunate that we do have a healthy revenue to implement this, and hopefully once it is implemented, it's,
So go through your list and make sure you got it all,
Well, what I understood
what you
was
need.
The supervisor, adding one position for a supervisor, still working out the details if it's a flat salaried supervisor or that. But then the nighttime supervisor, $2 an hour per additional. We have to work that out, how that works with the system.
Mhm.
Adding the software for EMD, adding 2 employees to communication. And I'm assuming EMTs, 2,
Yeah, equivalent, yes.
yes.
In other words, we might decide, well, never mind, don't get into that, never mind.
Shut up,
And
Ed.
then 1
Shut up.
FTE that would be added to the town,
Yeah.
going from the 24 to 12, one.
Yeah.
And then changing the rates,
Yeah,
$3 and $2.
yeah,
And then the 7-Eleven truck would change to a 10-10 and adding another FTE.
so 5 FTEs. Thank you for recapping that. Thank you.
I don't know how. I don't know how you kept up with that.
She's
Thank you.
the
Thank you for
brains
doing
of
that.
the,
She brought it, did you keep it?
Yeah.
Well,
I did.
you have any questions?
Yeah.
on it?
My only concern at this point is the $2 an hour premium for the night supervisors. Getting into that blended overtime and things like that. Like Debbie said, that we have to do some checking in the system to get that to work correctly, so that would maybe, I don't know if you want to pay them a premium or just increase their salary to $2 an hour and
I don't think
they
it's the
can't
same
pick up
people.
another shift or
That'd be the
something.
same.
Same people,
There'll be 2 people hired as night
Took on water.
shift supervisors.
but if they pick up another shift.
Right,
when that
I
worked in that hurry.
don't know. I don't know if you can restrict them from picking up other shifts if you're gonna be a supervisor. supervisor is paid $2 more, you can't pick up other shifts, I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I would prefer it to be a $2 an hour raise for that supervisor person than it be a premium if they're working that shift. I don't know.
Well, it's very complicated, and all these additions, I mean, really, I don't know, John's supposed to be helping us out with maybe some type of system that might help us do that, but once we change somebody's salary by $2 or $3 or whatever, then they're not getting paid for working the shift, they're getting, you know, and even with this 24 going to a 12, we're gonna pay those people to work a 12-hour shift instead of a 24.
clock stopped, Jeff.
That's not necessarily what happens if
Only
they
10
pick up a
o'clock.
24 or they pick up an 8. I mean, that's not why we're paying them to take a different shift. We're trying to help them to offset their income by working their standard 12-hour shift. Same way with a supervisor, they may pick up an extra shift, but they're not the supervisor on duty. So, so they go back to their base rate, correct?
Correct. We would, what you're describing is at the beginning, particularly the 7 folks that are gonna be affected by that town move, the beginning effects of annualizing a salary. You're saying I'm not willing to reduce what your annual wage was, but I'm not willing to pay in addition. There's a way to get to that annual wage, and based upon the number of hours you've worked in a year. And based on a 12-hour truck, this is what your rate of pay has to be to get to that. And a 24-hour truck pays something different than that, because it's obviously less, more hours, so it should be less per hour.
I know what you're saying. It's gonna be a nightmare to
Yeah.
do it all. And I get that, because I mean, I do payroll for my business too, so I know it's gonna be a nightmare, but, you know, I don't know how else you do it. I mean, I can't just say, well, you're just gonna get $3 an hour more for every shift that you work.
Well, and I'm wondering though, if you're actually assigning those people different duties, they either work their shift or they don't. They can't pick up another shift. They're a supervisor for this shift. If they're working this shift. If you can't work that shift, you're taking time off. I understand everything else is a different story. I understand other people and switching shifts, but at the moment, if this is all the stuff you want to do, that's the one thing that we can look into the other possibilities later for the whole system. But just these 2 people making a premium of $2 an hour right now is going to create issues that I don't think we're ready to create yet.
Well, and I also think that the 24 going to 12 is gonna create issues here if we're not talking about giving them $3 and $2 if they pick up a shift.
Right.
Different than that.
But that's to make their salary the same as what they would have been making. I think that's
Close.
a flat amount. I don't think that's a premium that they're talking about. That's a
Well, you know,
dollar
it's
amount increase.
essentially the same story.
It's an hour, it becomes an hourly rate once you apply it.
And if they
Okay,
pick
then
up
it's
a
not
shift-
changed anymore, right? Unless you want to change it for other shifts, but that's
Right,
beyond the scope of this one. Okay.
right.
Yeah,
So when a supervisor that's working 3 shifts in 1 week, say it's a night supervisor, and they pick up an extra shift, and they're not the supervisor, why should they get paid the $2 premium? So, I mean,
And what if you have to bring somebody in, these 2, if they're the same person, they're gonna take off, and then who's gonna be the supervisor for that night? Somebody else?
Well, we'd likely have let's say it's a night shift supervisor, and Ed and I are the night shift supervisor, Ed wants to take off, I might fill that shift.
But
Is
they
it-
have to switch with each other.
Or maybe the day shift supervisor, this is where we talk about,
Yeah, you can't
Okay.
have Junior come in there that's just been there for 6 months, come in and fill a supervisor.
No.
well, you hate
No.
that.
no,
We'll just put them in night dispatch.
Take the
No.
dispatch out at night, put them on.
It's
So,
gonna happen.
it's gonna happen, so we may put the day
day
sh- day shift supervisor for a stipend might fill the night shift
yeah,
supervisor truck.
yeah,
Or we could work, I mean, it might turn out that you get into a pinch and the director has to be the person, they may not go fill the truck, but they're gonna have to be the supervisor on picking up the telephone and handling stuff and coming in and dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a reason you all gave him a director, a vehicle.
Yeah,
Well, if you guys agree with the concept of it, let us work together and figure out how that will work out within the system. We'll bring it back to you if you want.
yeah, just look at it and see what,
I mean, I would think that, you know, there would be a different rate, you know, and I don't know, do they do their own payroll out there, or do you guys do all that? They send you a sheet?
I don't know that the rate, we could create different rates in there. It's when you come to them picking up overtime that you then have to blend those rates to get their
I
overtime
think,
rate.
I think, I have something I'll show you, that all we need to know is if it will import into your software, it'll solve this problem you're talking about. We demoed it last week. See, it's geared towards EMS. And
I mean,
then-
that's the part that concerns me, is the blended overtime. It's not
I get it.
the different
Yeah.
rates, it's blending the overtime that they're picking it up.
And if this works, I think it's gonna save you a lot of money when the higher rate people pick up different shifts. I just don't know if it'll work. They're supposed to be getting us an answer on whether or not it'll work with your payroll software.
Okay.
So I'll have that answer this week.
So you good?
I'm good.
I'm sure Jeff's not.
I'm fine, I get outvoted all the time. I used to be married. It's even worse now, I'm not. I get outvoted by her anyway. That's not fair. You know that?
Son.
Where's the sympathy at?
Do you want to discuss it?
If I had a handkerchief, if I had my handkerchief,
We'll get that next week.
Well, one of us has to play devil's advocate at the time at
I
least.
know.
Oh, I'm with you too. I mean, I know they're gonna be,
It's a lot of money. but
they're all
it's
gonna
gotta-
be coming to,
Good commission,
but
bad
This
commission.
is why we
Good
brought you
commission, good
here,
commission, bad commission.
and I knew, I knew it wasn't, I knew it was gonna cost us some money.
Sam just wants everybody to get along, so he's all right.
I
He
do.
puts the pressure on it. Makes us be the bad guys.
No, I just want us to.
You gotta be a bad guy one of these days.
I
Clint
kicked-
Eastwood type.
I kicked a dog once.
This is recorded, dude.
He was trying to bite me.
Sam
He was-
Bushman. Oh, he was trying to bite
He
you
was
there.
trying to
So
bite
as
me.
far as this goes, we're gonna have to do a sole source or something to do this. We'll have to advertise for sole source if this is the only company out there. Move forward on it, we have to, is that correct?
Well, and, you know, it'll take us a little bit to get the folks in, so
Right.
if we know we're moving forward, we can, you know, get the positions, start getting hired in, and there are lots of things we can work on before we get into the EMB side of it, so.
Right. So I move forward that we take all the recommendations, including the additional supervisor, the 2 nighttime supervisors with a stipend of $2 per hour additional. Moving forward with the EMD Communications Center with 2 day shift and 1 night shift per times 2, 6 total. Moving the 24-hour town into a 12-hour, 2 12-hour shifts with the $3 per paramedic, $2 EMT addition to salary for a total of 5 additional FTEs.
I second. You wanna do a roll call, Jeff? Roll call.
You'll know who says no.
I don't.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
No, thank you.
Chris.
Yes.
Okay. We'll still talk, we'll talk about cots some other time. I tell you what, this is.
Thank you.
this-
Come back next week.
So can I ask that question?
Yes, sir.
So, because Ed and I are not residing here, so I want to, as Commissioner Hell's report point out, it's difficult to manage some of this through email. Do you have a preference when you would like to see me and or Ed back in these chambers to discuss whatever?
We'll maybe go through John and we'll just, if we see,
Because
You know, and if the weather gets really bad here, we might come to Texas.
Come on down.
Dallas,
Hogs.
if Dallas is playing,
Yep,
uh,
we'll schedule it around the game.
yeah,
Thanksgiving.
yeah,
No,
we,
hell no, I ain't jumping on no airplane. Why would you,
what?
why you jump out of something perfectly fine that can fly? And
Oh, I
don't
agree,
understand.
I agree.
Okay,
Fair enough.
so Thanksgiving it is. We'll be down there on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, come on down. I got
Okay.
the green egg, we'll cook up something.
Do we have any other business to come before the commission?
I got business to take care of in the bathroom with coffee.
I don't. You wanna move
My
to-
eyes are about to
move
float.
Recess until
Yes.
4:30,
Please,
second?
I'll second it too.
All in favor?
Who seconded it?
Aye, you did.
Oh, who made? I thought I made the motion.
Really.
I'm gonna go make a motion.
Yes, ma'am, do you have questions?
Well, I wanted to kind of run stuff.
Sure.